Welcome to Journey Through the Gate, your paranormal portal podcast, as we delve into the many questions and wonders brought on by the supernatural experience. What's on the other side of the gate? Let's find out together. Hello, and welcome to this side of the gate. Tonight, I am so excited. I have somebody on tonight that I've admired for a while. I really like his style. He's just a good friend, and I've been really waiting to get him on. So tonight we have him. So, as a child, he experienced some unusual events that drove his curiosity, and that would later propel him into becoming a UFO, cryptid, and paranormal researcher. Now, I could go on. This man literally has 5 paragraphs to his bio. So why don't we just get him in here so you can meet him and you can hear what a multifaceted, wonderful guy he really is. Please welcome to this side of the gate, Bryan Bowden. Come on in, Bryan.
Oh, thank you for having me, Cisco. And I am never going to hear the end of that from Al. I didn't even realize I had 5 paragraphs.
No. Well,
Yeah,
I exaggerated, of course, but the thing is, it's wonderful how many things you've been into. I mean, come on,
oh,
you started so many radio shows. Tell us a little bit about the different broadcasts and radio shows that you started and everything else. I didn't want to get them all
oh,
mixed up.
no, no, it's not a problem. So, I did your typical thing when I went to school or college. I'm a pretty comical guy. I can make a comment and fun at any situation, no matter how serious it is, which is maybe not so appropriate. But that being said, we had a couple guys up at UMass, and they made me do an open mic at a Chinese buffet, which was really weird, and I kind of shut that place down.
Nice.
But I did radio up there, 1 or 2 shows, because one of my buddies had a show, and it kind of worked out really, really well. Um, and then the opportunity came for another network, which they were looking for content because they had none. So I proposed I wanted to do a radio show that dealt with the paranormal, but also dealt with other things. I wanted to do like a morning drive show
Right.
where it was fun. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, you could be very serious about paranormal and whatever you're talking about, but you could also have fun with it, right?
Right.
So I started a show, and I brought in. I figured it's better to do it with a buddy. And I definitely wanted our psychic in there, Cindy, and I also, wanted Al his opinion. So I got Cindy and Al from BPS, excuse me, to come on in, and I started a show called Beyond the Realm with them, and it was great. We were kicking ass and taking names. I'm sorry about that. If I'm cursing too much, I'll
It's
tell me
okay.
to
We can allow
chime down.
those.
Yeah, okay. And we were working on. I mean, Al was getting some guests. He was getting a lot of the guests. I was dealing on the technical side, building up the banners and promoting it, and also getting some guests. And it was just a great perspective because Al has a certain way of researching and thinking. Cindy does as well, and I think inside and outside the box. So it was beautiful. It was a 2-hour show. And the network just started screwing it up for us. I
Yeah.
mean, we would upload a file and literally like a minute long. And instead of just saying, okay, we'll let you go to the minute and cutting back on their fake advertisement that they were making for themselves with the guy with the speech impediment, that they would monkey with our file. So then when the file played, for slowly or really speed up, like, oh no, 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 oh no,
Wow.
this is what happened. And Al was getting pissed, and I was, we were getting numbers. We were competing and most of the times beating them at their own network. I don't think they thought anything much of us. They thought, oh yeah, we'll just get them on. They're going to be doing nothing. But we were getting like 600 downloads, for someone who just came out of the gate.
Right.
That's pretty damn good,
Yes.
And
Yes.
that's just for everybody to know, in podcast land, unless you're really signed up for something and you're on a radio station where you can actually kind of get metrics, podcasts are really gauged on downloads. And it's really within the first couple of hours or whatever, how many downloads you're getting. So if you start getting 1,000 downloads, 1,500 downloads, I mean, that's a lot.
Huge. It's huge.
Yeah, it's really big, and then when you're really playing on the big boy stage, I mean, it could be 100,000 downloads, a
Right.
million, whatever. Then it dies out. But we were not only getting big downloads, but the numbers were rising on a daily basis. They weren't promoting us; they were screwing up our advertising. They were, commenting this way and that, and then eventually, there was one time where we actually had Arizona Tramp, who is a great interview. If you haven't interviewed him, definitely get him on.
Yep.
Really, really amazing guy.
Swamp Daddy.
Um, yeah, Swamp Daddy. I don't go there, Daddy. But I'm not calling you Daddy. But it's really funny. As soon as that came on, like they messed up the file, they sped it up, and they played it on the wrong night.
Oh
Okay,
no.
so we were like Wednesday nights or something like that, or Thursday. I forgot what it was. They played us on a Tuesday night, and they were using TalkStream Live as a basis. So the way TalkStream Live basically works is that night, they'll put in whoever's listening to most shows will be in the number one slot up there at top, and then so on and so forth. We hit number seven. We beat New York City,
Mm.
NBC, CBS, and a couple of the big players down here. We were
Wow.
beating them. We were number seven.
Wow.
So that means that a boatload of people were listening to us.
Right.
Al went nuts. He cursed out the owner of the network.
Right.
I tried to play diplomat, but in the end, it just wasn't going to work out.
Right. But now you've
So,
got Inside the Goblin Universe podcast and you have
right,
Nobo Boomy. Now you're
right.
also involved in what is the one you're involved with Alan and what is his last name?
Santa Riga,
Okay.
uh,
And it's very
just like that
Bigfoot
song.
cryptid orientated.
Well, yeah, you see, what happened was while we were doing this, Al and I were in a roundtable with the owners of that network. They did this fake show where they were at a pub called the Cock and Balls.
Nice.
Really interesting. But Ron Murphy, and he's known as the cryptid guru. Dave Scott gave him that, and he knows everything about cryptids. I mean, his books alone should be like college level type of reading. He should be teaching a course in college as well.
Uh-huh.
So his co-host, there was some issue. So I independently went over there and said, listen, Ron, because I liked him. I wanted to get him on our show. And I said, if you need help with your podcast, I'll help you out. So he was floored by that because this is how I do things.
Networking.
Um, I go to help people out. I wasn't looking to get anything. I was looking to get him on our show. But if I can help the man out until they found somebody, it was great. Ron liked the fact that we had really great chemistry. So he goes, no, you're the co-host. And from that point forward, he goes, you and I are Goblin Universe 50-50, blah, blah, blah. So I was doing that. And that's roughly at the last episode of Beyond the Realm, which is the name of our podcast. And so then I just continue with Inside the Goblin Universe. And I also wanted to do my own thing by myself. Sometimes it's better when you do it by yourself.
Hmm.
If you talk to some of the players out there, some of the good guys in our, you know, what we call podcasting, what we do, our little crew, there's some really great people there that are really solid, trustworthy people. And, they're not really necessarily need to be part of a network. And I don't think anybody needs to be part of a network. I think you put it out there and whatever happens, happens. That's just my personal opinion now,
Yeah.
and it was fun. So I started Nobobumi. I wanted a catchy phrase. I wanted like something like a Japanese radio show, like Nobobumi. Like honorable,
Oh.
welcome, Mr. Bryan. You know, um, I wanted like that moto thing or whatever.
Right.
So that's what it is. It's not just paranormal. I'm working on some major musician people and artists
Nice.
and teachers, and we have one of my brethren. He is we're going to be talking about not infrasound. We're going to be talking about frequency and vibration
Oh, yeah.
using binaural beats. That's coming up soon.
Wow.
And I mean, this is what I want to do. But then we had a little. I had a little issue. Ron and I had a little issue, and like any married couple,
Hmm.
um, you know. I never did anything wrong, and he finally realized that what the truth was, and we've gotten back together, and now we're going to be doing some stuff together,
Nice.
and a lot of stuff together. So
Good, good,
I,
good.
I'm making my own mini network on my own little network. My
Cool.
own little inside the goblin universe.podbean.com. Yes, I'm promoting that.
Good,
That's
good.
where I look. I figured I paid for it,
Right.
and I've offered this to other people too. Like if you can't, if you have no place to throw it up and you want to, I've got unlimited. So I told this to a couple of friends of ours over the UK,
Right.
and I don't care. I'm not asking for anything.
Right.
I
It's
like
just
to promote
people
people I
helping
believe in.
people. I mean, that's the big thing. I mean, I not to throw you off or anything, but
No,
before I
no, not at all.
forget, um, I was just talking to Kat the other night, and I was actually on her podcast. It's so funny. We're each on everybody's podcast, blah, blah, blah. It's like, wow, I had so many this week. But I told her, I said, I started this podcast basically because I was sitting there going, I've been on a lot of them. I, I just want to ask the people the questions. There's so many I've heard on some of these big shows. I mean, big, big shows where they've got so many commercials. It's the poor guy's on there for 4 hours and he's got basically 40 minutes. And
Oh
I'm
yeah,
like, why aren't they asking him this? I mean, I actually heard one where the famous interviewer and the guy said, "Well, I was sitting at a red light and I turned to my left and there was an alien driving a car, and there was a reason he knew it wasn't somebody in a costume. I can't remember exactly what it was, but he gave the
right.
reasons. And I think that the announcer asked, "What kind of car was it? So what kind of car was it?" And then they went to a commercial and they never revisited this. I mean, how can you let this story go? I mean, do you know what I mean? You've heard those
Oh,
interviews, and I wanted to get deeper into some of these people, and get a chance to ask them some questions, like Mark
right.
Nesbitt and Gettysburg, and some of these
Oh
people.
yeah,
And then I thought, also, I want to talk to people who just regular people like you and me who have experiences that want to tell it the true way it happened, so they can match it up to somebody else's and try to get people answers.
right.
That's it. That's plain and simple it. We don't make any money at this. This is,
No,
are
no.
you kidding me?
I mean, I have advertising technically in there, but I'm actually helping out a couple people,
Yeah.
and to see if it would, helps them out, whatever. And if it does, if they throw me a couple of, bucks here and there, it'd be great. But like what you just said, I found, and I'm not saying this for everybody, but once you step over the threshold into a commercial type of
Hmm.
real podcasting or real radio,
It gets
you're
different.
beholden to your sponsors.
Hmm.
So and the murder is, we'll be right back after this break for Stag Chili.
Yes.
I mean, and then
I am
they come
beholden to
back and
no
like,
one.
yeah, let's go to the phones. But who's the murderer?
Yeah.
And then you get those people, and I've heard it too many times. You can hear it. I hear it all the time when they're phoning it in.
Yeah.
And it's all bullshit.
Yeah.
Pardon the expression
Yeah.
again.
Yeah.
And it's just like, really, guys. I
Yeah.
mean,
I
I
I
we had a
understand.
guest. We had a guest, and very prominent individual. Um, Books in on the inside scoop of the government, working with, and knowing about, UFOs and aliens.
Hmm.
And this person should have been better at interviewing. I can't believe Arizona had the same person on, and I laughed. I was laughing the whole time and making jokes behind the scenes. It's like pulling teeth.
Yeah.
So it goes both ways, but I agree with you. I keep doing this because I just ask people if they want to come on. If they want to come on, we connect and we do it.
Right.
I asked Dr. Greer to come on. I'm not a huge fan of Dr. Greer, but I'd love to talk to him about what he's done.
Bless his heart.
And not, yeah, well, but I didn't get Greer, but because of his publishing company and PR
Yeah.
firm, we got the what's his name from the author of Meg, Alton, Steve Alton,
Nice.
and the book was just made into a movie.
Yeah.
So we got him on there, and I just want to tell you, this is what everybody has always said about when I was doing it with Ron, and they've said it about me afterwards, because I hear it third party.
Uh-huh.
Because I like, Al will give me a real review. Al is like not going to hold back, and I want the review. I don't need to be stroked or anything. If I did something wrong, I'm too fast or too slow, or I don't let somebody answer the question, I want to know. I want to kind of correct myself. But everybody has said, like, Stan Alton was like, I mean, Steve Alton was like, and this, after we broke, and we're like, thank you, that was it, thanks for coming on. He goes, yeah, this is really fantastic. I definitely want to come back on and whatever. I mean, he meant it,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
we had this Ken Gearhart. If you ever, I don't know if you've ever interviewed him.
Sounds familiar. I
Okay,
know I know the name, but I'm not clicking.
cryptids, cowboy hat cryptids.
Got it.
He is probably one of the most knowledgeable people I've ever met. One of my favorite people to talk to about this entire subject, because here's a guy that he's talking. He talks the Latin names. He knows so much. He
Hmm.
used to have a couple of shows, and he even said, he goes, this is fantastic because I'm actually getting real questions,
Yeah. Well,
and
see,
that's what
that's
we do.
it,
We ask
man.
real questions.
It's real questions. I mean, I think with this one too, I'm going to do it my way. I'm going to do it my way. I am not a broadcaster. I'm not a journalist. You know what I'm saying? I'm not, but I'm also not a liar.
Right.
If I've got somebody on and I've got a month, I'm going to read your book. If I say I read your book, I read your book. You know, and it's, I mean, you should have seen me in the library the other day. Last week, I went to the library for the first time in like 5 years because it's getting expensive, even on Kindle,
Yeah.
you know. And I've had a few throw me PDFs and stuff like that. Like Bill Bean, he was so cool. He goes, "Honey, you don't have to
Yeah.
buy these. Let me send them to you." I love Bill. I love me some Bill Bean. And you know, he
We were
talks
just
his,
discussing Bill Bean
oh, I
the other
love
day.
him so much. I love him so
Yeah.
much. And so, you know, that helps. You know, but they want you to buy it and they want you to read it, and you know that I understand. You know, I'm not complaining. So I go into the library, and I ask the lady. I go, "How many can we get out?" And she says 30, and I'm like, "30 what? You know, 30 everything, you know, total." And
Right.
I'm like, "Ooh, okay." And then you know what happened, Bri? This was so strange because I've got a story, and not to take it off to the side, but here we go.
Keep
When I
going.
was little, and I mean, like I was probably 9, 10, my mom pulls up in front of the library. It was a new town, and we were always moving. A single mom, she was always going for the better job, better place, you know. So we were moving.
Yep.
Books were my friends, and that's the only place you could get information on stuff like this. So the library. She pulls up in
Yep.
front and says, "Hurry up, go in, get your card, and get whatever you want. But we're kind of in a hurry, so just grab some stuff, and then we'll take back what you don't want." And I was like, "Awesome." So I go running in, scooch, skid up to the library table, and I look, and I'm looking at the Dewey Decimal System, and I'm thinking, you remember the old card
Yeah.
catalog?
Oh, yes. Yes, I do. These
And I'm
kids
like,
have no idea what terror
no,
that was.
no, oh, what a terror. So
Yeah.
I'm thinking, I'm in a hurry, man. And I go up to the librarian. I was always taught to be polite and kind, and I walked up to the librarian and I said, "Ma'am, I know I'm supposed to look this up myself, but I'm new in town and my mom's in the car and I'm in a hurry." And I ran through the whole spiel. I said, "I'm really looking for ghost stories." And she gives me the number, and she's like, she
Right.
points and everything. And I go up and I get there and I'm looking through and I'm grabbing them down, and they're all these bump in the night things for kids.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
And, the coffin came down the stairs and he took the cough drop. Ha ha ha, stop the coffin. That kind of crap.
Yep.
So I'm like, ugh. So I go running back up to the desk and I said, "Ma'am, I apologize. I need a little more help. Can you please tell me?" She goes, "Well, what exactly are you looking for?" I said, "I'm looking for the true ghost stories."
Right.
And this woman, I promise you, true librarian, God bless all the librarians out there, hair in a bun, the glasses on the end of her nose with the chain, and the little sweater over her shoulder, the little
Yep.
chain holding the sweater. She stands up and she looks down her glasses at me and she says this: "There are no true ghost stories." And I'm like, and I feel like,
Oh,
yes, there
that's
is. So could you just point them out, Well, she
a
takes me over.
non-believer.
Yeah, well, she takes me over to like a cult and witches and all this other. And I found a couple things in there, and I grabbed up my 10 or whatever and got out. But saying that, I just went last week, and I'm looking.
Right.
Now it's all new. Everything's computerized, and I go in and I ask her where the section is and everything, and she's okay. And I said, "Well, fiction, nonfiction." I'm like, where's the sections here?" And she
Right.
says, "We really don't separate them." And I said, "What?"
What?
She goes,
What?
yeah, she says, "We really don't separate them. They're all right here in these, nothing has changed at the library." And
Wow.
I was floored by this. I'm like, "Even the historical?" She goes, and she switched it around, but she basically said the same thing. "Yeah, we really don't, decipher between the two. We just kind," and I'm like, "Okay." And I thought, my God, you know, if
Yeah.
you think about that, that holds a lot of weight. Because if the
It
library system had said at one point, "Okay, this stuff is getting, there's a lot of evidence here. This, we can put this in that, in the true section now, nonfiction, fiction, break it up." They don't. And that means something to me, It's like, still, after all this time.
yeah, I think they do that. I think they do that partially for the kids, so maybe not to scare them away from the library or telling them like we just put it together. I think it's a problem though. I think because kids today believe
Yeah.
they will believe everything you tell them.
I mean, I
I
wonder
mean,
how
like
many
without
years,
thinking
man.
about it. And then if you say you saw it on YouTube,
Yeah.
they even give it more credibility.
Well, even if this is based on a true story. I mean, if you
Oh
go
yeah,
in there and look, everything is together. It's all, the different psychics. I mean, I found a lot of different things together, and even looking up certain authors, and they split them. And I'm like, what in
right.
the world? I mean, I went in there looking for one guy, and he was in like five different places. My God, Jim Mars is all over the library. They don't know
Yeah,
what to
well,
do with Jim Mars. He's
you
everywhere.
know,
You
right,
know.
because they have some things that are would be considered, true and something not true, and then there's the fantasy side. I mean, the good thing about I'm in New York City, so the public library, which I initially never, I didn't go back until I had kids. I was never going anywhere near the library because when I was cleaning up my apartment many, many moons ago, that we moved into, I found one of my old books that I took out from the library in
I
1977.
did too.
It was a ginormous book, and it was on Bigfoot actually,
That's
which is
funny.
these are the books I was taking out because we didn't have YouTube, we didn't have a way to like look up other videos
Uh huh.
or nothing to that effect. So it was, we had to have this.
Uh huh.
Um, and I realized that if I just did the math at a nickel a day,
Mhm. I know. I know. I know.
and this was like 2000 and like one,
Uh
and
huh.
I'm like, no, I
Yeah.
ain't doing this,
Yeah.
not happening. So
Well,
I kept,
yeah. Yeah, I do. I have one too. I have to confess. And when I
yeah,
found it, I told my son, I said, if there's a knock at the door, don't. There's a bunch
it's
of ladies out there with glasses and sweaters. Don't open it.
damn it, it's the library cops. Um, but
The library cop.
yeah,
That's funny.
freeze, freeze, Cisco. We know you got that book in there.
Yeah,
Um,
right? Oh,
but
that's
but
too
what
funny.
this is what's the coolest thing, and I wasn't even thinking it on this level. In the New York City public library system, you can literally search them online. Okay, you can search for whatever you book you want, and if most libraries will not have a large selection, but you can order the book and they will deliver literally within a
Oh, yeah.
week.
Mine too.
And
Yep.
and then on the best part about this is a separate sidebar. You can get DVDs
Mm-hmm.
and you can get all the music you ever wanted to listen to.
Mm-hmm. I know. It's
So
wild.
if
It's
you wanted
changed.
every U2 album, I'm just using that as an example, you can get it on on CD.
Mm-hmm.
You can make MP3s out of it and then return them right back to
Yes,
the
you
library.
can.
And yeah, you could.
And I
So I mean,
guarantee there's an app because I just got it. It's like kind of a combination Kindle, iTunes, all that stuff.
yep,
And you go in and you get 8 free a month, and
uh-huh,
it's either on CD, like audiobook, or it's a
right.
movie, or it's, an ebook, and you get 8 of those a month free. And I'm like, glory be. All this, and they still can't decipher between true ghost stories and
Yeah,
fake ghost stories. They won't give that, okay, this is true.
right. I
It's
don't know
funny.
what the
It's funny.
politics are. Yeah,
It's
no, it
it
is
is.
funny, and
It's
and I
weird.
can see how it would, it kind of
Yeah.
bugs you.
Yep.
Well, it was funny when you were mentioning how, Bill Bean was giving you like the PDFs. We get a lot of, we've gotten a couple of freebies from people book wise. I
Hmm.
mean, because it does cost them money, especially if they're self-publishing.
Yeah.
Um, but we get a lot of PDFs, and like, I got a PDF many, many times when like you had like literally 4 days until you had to interview this person.
Yeah.
So I do the research on them to begin with. I read some of the, the summaries, but you basically have to read the book.
Uh
So
huh.
I'm trying to read the book, but having kids that I have right
Yeah.
now and the age that I have, it's really complex.
Yeah.
So what I've been able to do is, because I do this all the time anyhow, I can make audio tracks out of anything.
Oh, cool.
So I literally take the file, take the book, I take all the words from it and everything that's there, and I literally make it into a book on tape,
Great.
and I put it on my headphones. I have one ear in or two, and I can watch my kids and do what I'm doing and pay
Fabulous.
attention.
It's so much
So
easier. It's so much
oh my
easier. I
god,
clean my whole house listening to a book. Listen,
yeah,
I got an interview I'm so excited about. It's Mark Shaw.
nice,
Yes. And I listened to an interview from him, and I'm like, okay, it's time, Dorothy. It's time,
yep,
Dorothy, for Pete's sake. And I am so up in the JFK thing. I mean, I can't even tell you. And I'm kind of hovering. My favorites in this genre, just to break it down, are of course Jim Mars, and believe it or
right,
not, Richard Belzer with Hit List. And
really,
oh yeah, yeah, I really dig the book. I like the way he laid it out. I like his no BS to it.
yeah,
I'm hip,
yep,
man. I'm hip. I'm hip. I like him as a comic. He's got the same
bells.
kind of, yeah, the Bells. Have you read the book? Have you heard the
No,
interviews from Bells?
No, I used to listen to every once in a while.
Yeah.
There's so much to. Here's my problem. I'm like a kid in a candy store.
Yeah.
It's remember the old days when you walked into like a record store? We
Yeah.
had
Oh
records,
yeah. Oh
people.
yeah. Oh yeah.
We didn't have CDs or MP3 downloads. We had actual physical records. You'd walk in and you had this list in your head of like, okay, I want this one, I want this one, I want this, and
Yep.
then what usually happened to me, I walked through the Tower Records and I just became a babbling idiot. Like, duh.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just couldn't remember a thing, and I walk back out. Oh, Beach Boys
Yeah.
or Beatles or whatever. So there's
Classic.
so much going on, and I do so much research for new guests coming up,
Yeah.
and I'll listen to some of the older interviews, seeing what they're up to, because that's the best way as a podcaster
Uh huh.
to kind of get a little bit more. You can do the research on them, you can know what they've written, you can be following them for years, but when some people start asking questions, and you're like, well, that's a really bad question. I would have phrased it differently. It kind of throws a little ideas your way.
Yeah.
But no, I'm guilty of a lot. I'm in the process of writing a book right now, um,
That's so
and well, it's
hard,
actually
man.
one, two.
Dude.
There's four books coming out very very soon. Sorry about the ambulance or the cops that are running by.
It's okay. Did we say
You,
something? Was it
no,
was it them?
like
Was it
Arizona's
really?
got the train and I got the
We
cops.
mentioned Jim Mars. We've had it. They're coming to get you. I'll
Well,
collect bail. I'll pass
yeah.
the jar.
Well, and we haven't even mentioned Behold a Pale Horse yet.
Not even.
Um,
Not even.
that's a sick book. I actually bought that with cash in Grand Central Station.
Nice.
But there's so much going on that it's kind of hard to
Yeah.
balance real life.
Well, the thing is,
What I want to do.
dude, I really want to do something about the Kennedy thing because I mean, uh, it's so. Are you kidding me? It's like, oh my gosh! But I've been in it for so long, and I'm like,
Yeah,
okay, BS, 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 BS. Like I got a chance to talk to Jim Mars once, and it was a couple months
nice.
before he passed. Well, it was a call in. It was on
Right.
Jimmy's show, and I got to talk to him and tell him, we talked a little bit about Northwoods, we talked a little bit about some other stuff, and I got to tell him because he was always saying people aren't listening, and I said, Jim, yeah, I called him Mr. Mars. I said,
Right.
we're listening. My sons are listening. I play them your tapes. They've read your books. We're listening, you know. And I got to tell him that just months before he passed. And I thought
Yeah.
he was just a I think he was one of the last real journalists. I know they're out there, but
Well,
you know,
he was also a really nice guy.
oh my gosh. Oh my
You know,
gosh, yes. Oh, just real.
I had some interactions with him, but not like more like messaging type of interactions. I would love to have interviewed him, but
Mhm.
sometimes you see some people and you're like, they're probably going to be hard to get to.
Yeah.
And then
I don't do that. I message them because I mean all they can do is say no. I
oh
mean,
yeah,
I've
yeah.
got people. I got. You know what I did? You're gonna laugh at this, but here's my strategy.
You don't send packages in the mail, do you? No, no, I'm
No,
joking.
no, 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 no. Oh gosh, don't even get me started on that. Have you seen those packages? Where's the
Yeah,
stamps? I mail stuff all the time, and I'm looking at it and I'm going, okay, what is it? 49 cents, six stamps. It's 2.90 what? And no, it costs me more to mail earrings. Who delivered this
yeah.
package? What? Come
Well,
on. Something
exactly.
what?
And then they
What?
conveniently had one available for somebody to take a picture of and put it
Something's
on
up.
CNN.
Something's up.
But that
I call bullshit. I'm sorry. There's something smells funny. I don't know what it is. But are you telling me there was nobody in CNN that couldn't look at that package and add up six stamps and go, "What?"
it's not only that, it's just the person they're pinning it on right now. Yeah, he's a little bit of a wacko,
Yeah,
and
way too much
you're
of a brat.
atypical, but everything's too nice and neat. His van's nice and perfect,
Something's wrong.
and
Something's wrong.
yeah,
I just can't. All I'm saying is something's wrong. Two nights ago, I'm sitting in front of the thing, and I'm going, wait a minute, what?
yeah, exactly.
And I'm not saying, but what? And I'm looking
Yeah,
at my son, and I'm going, what do you see here? Look at the picture and tell me what you see. Break it down.
yep.
And he's just looking at me, goes, Mom, everything's not a conspiracy. I'm like, yes, it is. It's
Well,
like,
well,
but not so much a conspiracy, but there's something wrong with this picture, and I just can't quite put my finger on
okay.
it.
So you're telling me in this day and age where every federal agency has cameras all over the place,
Mm,
no one saw somebody bringing the packages in.
yeah.
Besides that, so look at like you said with the stamps, not enough postage on it. The
There's
stamps weren't they weren't
They
canceled.
weren't canceled.
And then if you look
It wasn't weighed. You
right,
know, when I go in, I have to say, because I also make soap. I'm all over the
right.
place with stuff, and I have to make sure that the oils, like if I make a perfume, it's not got a high flash point. I don't know if everybody knows that different oils have a they'll
Yes.
ignite at a certain flash point, and I have to go in there and sign a paper that says that, this oil is, such and such. It's a low flash point, and if it is a high flash point, it's just it goes ground. It doesn't get on a plane. You
Yep.
know, and unless you state that you want ground, it goes on a plane. I don't care if it's going, from Georgia to Florida, it's going on a plane, you know?
It just doesn't make sense. And then if you
No,
look at the photo that they had of whatever that device was,
yeah.
if
Is
you're
that
mailing it, why do you have a timer?
it just doesn't make any sense. I don't think they were
Yeah.
meant to go off. I just think that there's something up with it. I don't know if it was just a show or a distraction or, hey, look over here while we do this. I don't know what it
I,
is, but it's
Sidebar, I
something.
think it was totally a distraction. I don't think that that side of the aisle was doing very well and is going to do very well in the upcoming elections. They were looking for some kind of rally point.
Yeah.
Takes you away from the whatever million plus person march coming from Honduras or wherever.
Yeah, I don't even.
You know,
Yeah, I don't know about that
it,
either. I'm just. The point is, it rolls me down to this. There is, as an empath, I can tell you right now, it feels to me for a long time that the world is just making a fist, and there's
yep,
something is going to pop. I know you feel this too, and I'm thinking
100%.
innocent
Yep.
people are just gonna get hurt over this stupid crap, and it just doesn't make any sense to me. It's volatile. Everything is volatile, and it shouldn't be that way. It just shouldn't.
Yeah, I've
It's
never.
nuts.
I mean, like the pressure right
Yeah,
now is
it's bad.
so intense,
It's bad.
and I'll tell you, I really, I'm American. I'm not a Republican. I'm not a Democrat. I'm an American. And actually, if you really wanted to follow politics, I guess now it'd be called libertarian, but it's really Jeffersonian liberal,
Mm,
which means the government's job is to make sure nobody gets hurt, and they don't impede on your ability to do business, but they
mm-hmm,
basically stay out of your life and you live your life and you conduct your business.
mm-hmm.
So this way, both sides of the aisle is just way too extreme for their select, chosen
And
people.
I don't know whether that's just what's showing and what's coming to the surface, and everybody else. Look, man, most people just want to go to a job. They want a decent pay for a decent day's work. They want to pay their bills. They want to take care of their family, they want their children to be safe. They want their that's the
Right.
same. That's the American dream. It's not. Everybody says it's get a piece of land, get a house. Well, now even getting a house is uh,
Impossible.
well, it's not impossible. It's do you really want it, and do you really own it? Don't pay the taxes on that sucker, and I'll tell you who owns it. I mean, it's just
Yeah.
if you think about it, though,
You can
it's
become a
not like it
homesteader though.
was back back in the day. When you had land, and now it's still not even because you have 100 acres and they want to put a highway through it. Guess what?
Yeah, eminent domain.
Yeah.
They take
So
your land.
this is what I'm saying. So if it's just they just want to live a simple life, they want to do what they want to do, they want to eat their Cheetos, they want to go to the movies, they want to have every once in a while go out to dinner and enjoy their life and smile, maybe take their kids on a vacation every once in a while, pay their bills.
Yep.
That's what they want. Leave them alone.
Right.
And I don't know what happened, you
Well,
know.
I think there's a huge change here. First of all, I think both parties are really one party, and they'll say out the side of their mouth like those Democrats or those Republicans, blah blah blah, but they're all in it for the money for
Yeah, but
themselves. They don't
honey,
care about anybody.
Mick Jagger might be out front, but he ain't exactly in charge either. If the
No, no, no,
promoters
no.
want, you know what I'm saying? Do you know what I
I'm
mean by
told.
that?
I told. Yeah, 100%.
Okay.
But what they don't realize is, you know, it really scared the hell out of him when Trump won,
Yeah, right.
because he's not on the take. He has his own money, and he's really a wild card. I did business when I was in business.
You used to
Our
be on
companies
Wall
used,
Street. You used to be on Wall
yeah,
Street,
yeah,
so you know what you're talking about. Yeah, go ahead.
yeah, and we did work for Trump's company. We were on one end of the spectrum, and in other deals, we were against him. I mean, we repoed some of his properties at one point. But we know how he operates, and he's basically a mouthpiece. He's always been a mouthpiece. But what people in the American public don't get is when you get a certain amount of money in your life, you are afforded certain type of tax credits that you could never have taken advantage of.
Hmm.
It's in the system. It's on the books.
Hmm.
There's nothing illegal about it.
Hmm.
He surrounds himself with the best lawyers,
Hmm.
doctors,
Yeah.
politicians,
Yeah.
senator, whatever you want.
Yeah.
and he knows how to play the game. They sit at a table, they work it out. They'll, yes, will he say yes or no to things? But he also does have people in place to like get his ass back in line.
Yeah.
Okay, he's
Yeah.
not an idiot.
They really should have took the Twitter away from him
Well,
though.
yeah, well, you know,
Well, see, this is it.
that's a given.
This
That's a
is
given.
it. Look, I've been alive how long now? How many presidents? And look, I worked for him. I put on a uniform.
Yep, yep.
I basically put up my hand and said, you own me now." As a soldier, that's what you do.
Well,
You know.
that's the problem I have with this whole thing. Like,
Yeah.
with look, I come from immigrant blood. I would say probably 90% of the population does,
Mhm.
and I have no problems with immigrants.
Mhm.
But there's a process to go through,
Yeah.
and I have people and friends in lettered agencies and in the military and whatever you want, and you know there's a certain process we have to go through.
Right.
I have a problem when we have men and women that have doing 3, 4, 6 tours of duty right now, and I mean, you cannot go from where you were overseas. Thank you very much for your service,
Mhm.
um, and just bring them back here and just say, okay, thank you, bye.
Mhm.
These people are killing themselves.
Mhm.
Okay,
22 a
you have
day,
not. Yep,
and I really think it's more like 28 a day. I do a lot of
probably
work with
is,
veterans. Yeah, it's
but
higher.
but we're giving all these people that are quote unquote refugees, which are clearly, honestly, are not,
Mhm.
and we're giving them $7,000 a month, per diem, and then they're paying their mortgage and whatever
Yeah.
to actually go, to live here when we have men and women
Veterans,
living on the streets,
homeless
veterans,
veterans.
homeless veterans living on the street, or having some kind of issue because of the service they did for our country.
Mhm.
We owe them the money,
Yeah.
not these people coming in as refugees.
Yep.
We need to take care of mom, ourselves first
Mhm.
before we can bestow that blessing upon others.
Yeah. And
That's all
I
I'm.
know people get caught up and they want to help and they give us, you're free, you're tired, you're poor. I
Yeah.
understand. I totally do. I'm Native American. I think we should have had stronger, immigration
Oh,
laws about
yeah.
500 years ago. But
Well,
I'm just
yeah.
saying, as a joke, as a joke. It's like, no, no, no. We just kept moving back, and we kept saying they got to stop sometime. And we went. They pushed us all the way from the Jersey Shore to Oklahoma, but that's okay.
Yeah.
That's
Tell me
where
about
my Lenape people are. They're out in Oklahoma. And there's only like
it.
less than 5,000 left. So you want to talk
One,
about?
yeah, one of the I did a lot of when I went to UMass, and one of the things I studied there heavily was the history of North American Indian people,
Yes.
and it went beyond that too. And one of the guys in my group that I was friendly with, we were really into this whole subject. His great 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 grandfather was Andrew Jackson.
Oh wow.
Talk about, he goes, yeah, I
Yeah.
wouldn't go. He mentioned, he goes, yeah, I'm not going to go. I'd like to go to the Indian res. I'm not going to go because if they find out who my relative
Right.
is,
You want to
they'll
hear
just
something
scalp,
funny?
they'll
You might
scalp me.
know this. You might know this. I was
Sure.
heavily into learning because I just wanted to learn as much from my people as I possibly could. And
Right.
I was in the South, and there was a lot of Cherokee and everything. I'm Cherokee and Lenape, and a little bit of Scotch. So I wanted to learn as much as I could from them. And I'd get around this band of people and I'd sit. And the best time to learn is when they're having a 3 day powwow. It's when everybody else goes home and you're sitting around the fire with the elders and you just
Yep.
listen. And that was fantastic.
Yep.
And there were people in there that would not hold a $20 bill. If you gave them change and there was a 20 in it, they'd say, "No, take it back. Give me two tens. I won't touch it because Andrew
Yep.
Jackson's on it." I mean, they're
Yeah.
that strict about it because of the whole story of, he was not a bad president as far as what he did for the country. As far as doing his job when he was told to clear out the Indians, he did it well.
Oh,
But
he did.
yeah, and ruthlessly, and like Sherman burning Atlanta. I mean, it's
Yeah.
just the same type of thing. But I had somebody tell me one time, he's like, "You don't understand. Andrew Jackson was a good man. And I'm like, "Well,
Yeah.
he had some good points." He said, "Well, he adopted that Native American boy. And I said, "Yeah, but did they tell you in your history books before he adopted the little Native American boy that he killed his grandparents and his parents and his brothers and
Yep.
his sister too?"
Yeah.
So it just depends on where you're getting, your
That's
input and your data from. You know,
yeah. That's the
that's it.
problem with this whole society right now,
Yeah.
and people aren't getting their data,
No.
and people become sheep.
Yeah.
And this also goes into paranormal and stuff.
Hmm.
They believe everything's demonic.
Yeah.
People believe all the narratives coming from whatever news
Parareality.
agency.
Go ahead.
And I've never seen the hysteria in my life
I
as I
know.
see it now.
Yeah.
Look, I have two daughters. Okay, I tell them all the time. I said, make your own way,
Hmm.
make your own money,
Yeah.
marry rich and well, but know that you can do it yourself.
Hmm.
That's what I want them. I want them to be strong people.
Hmm.
Um, this whole Me Too movement is just it's really gonna all these little movements are backfiring on everybody because
Mm.
they missing the point. And I had like the whole Black Lives Matter thing. I appreciated what was going on, and I can appreciate it because it is kind of difficult for people and whatever. But it got taken over by the wrong group,
Hmm.
just like the Tea Party got taken over by the wrong group,
Hmm.
just like this.
I think
Me Too.
anything like
It's
that's going
just
to happen,
insanity.
man. It is. It's
Yeah,
insanity. And everybody just needs to calm down and take a breath and go, okay, what do we need? What do we need? We need to breathe. We need clean air. We need water that's free and not, in a bottle for $3 because they're holding it
right,
back. We need we need them to get the chemicals out of whatever it is we're eating, and we need to understand that the pharmaceuticals have got to back down. We got to stop
yep,
drugging everybody for everything. It's
it,
insane.
it,
It's backfiring. It's behind so many of
yep,
these weird attacks. And I mean, just
it,
we could go on that one for hours.
oh,
It's
oh,
absolutely documented.
it,
Um,
yeah, it's
and we
insanity what's
need to
going on
take
right now.
care of our children, and we need to raise them up to be compassionate, and we need to tell them that your rights are your rights until they spill over into somebody else's. We
Right,
need to stop these stupid labels. I don't understand people that hold up a hand and say you've got to stop the labels, and then in the same sentence but we're so glad I'm the first blank that ever won this award. What is that?
right.
Are we using them or are we not using them? I don't understand what's happening. You are a person. We're all the same inside, and if we all took our blood and tested it, I guarantee not one of us are 100% anything. So,
Well, yeah, no,
you
I
know,
mean, I didn't test that. It's really funny. My father's mother, jet black hair, tannish skin, high cheekbones, and my dad swears she's Native American. And I
mhm,
actually, if you really did look at her,
mhm,
100% could be a Native American. So I haven't even tried to even look that up, and I'm not looking it up so I can get claim on some
right.
Indian reservation gambling thing, you know.
No, no. And that's,
Um,
if you think about it too, man, Native Americans are the only thing other than dogs and horses that have to claim their heritage by blood. Did you know
yep,
that? To get a card, and I'm like, "What?" So, I
yep,
mean, like we could prove it's hard to prove back 6 generations because Native Americans didn't keep, paper
no,
documents. So they make it hard. They went back 6, but if you could prove that, then your kids get a little bit of this, or they can get some land or whatever. And I remember when my son was in the 3rd grade, they were learning. He brought home. I thought it was so funny because they were doing Native American Week, and he brought home
right,
a paper bag. That's when we saw paper bags of vests
right,
with all these symbols on it and stuff. And he was all excited because he knew about Native American stuff, and he could raise his hand, he could answer questions. And then they came in and they asked, and they took off ones that were really interested in it, and they let him have an extra class in it. And then he
right.
came home and he was a little upset because he brought papers. He said, "Well, they said I have to prove to be in this class." And I said, "What?" So that went on a long thing. And then I asked him, and he came home one day and he said, I don't want to be in there anymore." And he said, you know, basically in his 3rd grade way, he looked at me and he said, "There is nothing that they can give me that's going to make up for what happened. I know who I am,
Right.
and I know more about the stuff they're teaching than than the people that are teaching it. So I don't need it." And it's
Well,
kind of been their
yeah.
way ever since.
Oh, it's one of the things that I was huge really into, and I really want them to do more of it, but it's going to cause a huge uproar.
Hmm.
I wanted the Five Nation Confederacy and all nations to start doing the ghost dance again. I want them
Oh
to do the
yeah.
sweat lodges again,
Oh yeah. I built
the
one in
sun
my
ritual.
backyard.
Yep,
Sweat
I went
lodge
over to a
thing.
buddy's house and he had a sweat lodge, and
Hmm.
it's really is a religious experience.
Oh
People,
man,
you
it
should
is.
really
It
try it.
is. We built a
It's and
pit. everything, man. We built it all out of just the same way, all out of sticks. Everything was tied
Yep.
together with, everything had to be of the earth, cotton string. And right when we were putting the finishing touches on it, an owl was in the tree above us hooing. It was
Nice.
amazing. Oh, it was amazing. Yeah.
You know, but you spend some time in there, you don't have to
Yes.
take any drugs. You
No,
will
it's true.
experience a lot of good things,
It's
and
true.
you really do find yourself when you come out of that. You just after
Self-hypnotized.
you well, yeah, after you vomit
Yeah.
repeatedly,
It's
after
true.
you're vomiting repeatedly,
Yep.
and you get a little water back in your system, you get to it. You get. I mean, I got really, really quiet,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
everybody was really quiet,
Mhm.
and it was just like you were just trying to deal with what just happened and what took place. But it really opens your eyes to a lot that's going on there. This is why I wish most people in the paranormal field
Mhm.
would give huge props and credit to the indigenous people,
Yes.
not only in this country but globally.
Yes.
They know so much
Yes.
about the star people
Yes.
and and mathematics, and I thoroughly do believe that there was interactions there. There's been
Mhm.
proof about
Mhm.
interactions.
Mhm.
What's his name? I was gonna Black Elk.
Mhm.
If you read Black Elk Speaks, I mean, he even talks about the craft that used to come when he was
Oh
going on
yes.
vision quests,
Yes.
and this is no joke. People, they had interactions with people from the planets and the
Yes.
stars. They've helped them out. I mean, don't get me wrong; they're very smart individuals,
Mhm.
but I'm sure plenty of them were downloaded and with
Yes.
information. That's why the mathematics was there. That's why
Mhm.
the calendar was there. They were, read some of these Native American legends.
Absolutely
Um,
amazing.
my God.
The
Yep.
Hopi prophecies,
Yep.
amazing. You know, and it's just that's I try to approach things i- with taking all this, like all wisdom is not found in one place. You know what I mean? And I had an
Yep.
elder come to me. I've heard so many things, and you just kind of get quiet and you listen, like I said earlier. And he told me, he kind of laughed, and we were talking about religion and spirituality and other things. And he said, I don't know why everybody gets so hung up on what path they take. We all wind up in the same place. And,
Right.
he started telling me other things about, the star people and dimensions and, other planets and global reincarnation. It's like,
Uh-huh.
what makes you think you can only be reincarnated here? And I'm like,
Right.
I don't think anything. Just tell me what you know. But
Yep. Exactly.
different things like that, and just such in such a calm, knowing manner. Not I know more than you do. Just you need to know this.
Oh,
That kind of thing is beautiful. Peru, look at Peru. Look at
oh yeah.
look at all the different. Look at Japanese tradition
Yep.
and Chinese and Hindu, and it's all so beautiful, man. And that's how I look at spirituality, because when you boil down all of that, what are you left with? It's all very core, the same.
Yep.
You know,
100% the same. You know,
100% the
it's
same.
one of the. I'm just going to make a recommendation.
Hmm.
It's an easy read. It's a good book. It's called Phoenix Rising,
Hmm.
and it's by Mary Summer Rain, and I think the subtitle is No Eye's Vision of the Changes to Come. In there, she will. I read this book well over 2 decades ago, and she talked about train accidents going left and right, plane accidents coming up, things, roller coaster accidents. And if you just listen, if you've just read the book in the past and you start seeing what's all these different things taking place, people living in like a bubbled community, or and now the bubble doesn't have to be physical, mind you.
Hmm.
The bubble could be this mental bubble that we have dividing people from the left side and the right side. Think about it. It's a little bit more esoteric,
Right.
but it's the way that the elders, it's word of mouth. They passed on their history. I'm going to tell you the story. Pay attention and remember it. And they keep repeating it over and over again. And that's how the narrative gets out. And sometimes they were writing it down, some select few, but this is an oral tradition that spans decades, centuries, whatever.
Right.
They have so much information,
So much,
and
man.
and there's so much is lost because of what took place with the different reservations and
Hmm.
people dying off, be it the smallpox blankets,
Hmm.
which I'm surprised no one's trying to sell to the Hondurans at this point.
Yeah.
And whatever. Hey, let's give them some smallpox
One of
blankets.
the first biological warfares wasn't very far from
Yes,
us. Where I read the journal of that captain of that fort. I forget the name of the
eh,
fort now. I don't want to get it wrong. But he
right.
actually wrote in that journal. He was given, just like anybody else, Andrew Jackson, Sherman, like we said, get rid of them. And he said, well, he had some people with some smallpox and get the shirts, get the blankets, and he wrote in the journal, I've he invited the chief and the chiefs, to
Yep.
come over, and they shook hands, and the poor chief thought that they were just having a little peace treaty, and he gave him, here's these gifts, here's these shirts and these blankets and these other things, with our with our love. And then he
Yeah.
went home and he wrote in his journal, now all we have to do is sit back and wait.
Yep.
So
I
biological
mean, this
warfare. Yeah.
there was, and and this is typical of any type of military incursion or whatever. There's always there was a select few people that were higher up there that were part of this that really did not want to have anything to do with it.
Hmm.
But with the fear of being shot or whatever, they literally were forced into this.
Hmm.
A different time frame, everybody. I
Yes,
mean,
true.
like one of my very good friends, he's like a brother to me. He makes fun. He sees all these old videos of people in the military now, and this one kid was like, and that drill sergeant, he was all in my face and stuff, and he was yelling at me, and I'm like, you understand? I know you've been in the military. We get invaded, we are screwed.
Uh huh.
We are screwed.
Yeah.
None of these people will pick up arms for anything.
Uh huh.
But
Yeah.
if you told them that you're going to give them free Wi-Fi and a phone, I guarantee you'd have everybody signed up. Like, who do I shoot?
Yeah.
But
It is a different. I mean, I just did. You said you were writing a book. Believe it or
yep,
not, man, it's taken me 2 years, but I'm loading up mine tomorrow. We're self-publishing,
nice.
and I'm writing
Yep.
it with Steve Stockton, who's fantastic. He's my
Oh
buddy
yeah.
of mine. I love Steve, and it's both of us together, and it's just kind of cool. But anyway, finally we're loading it up tomorrow. We've been proofreading for 3 days. I'm like, ugh.
Did you
But
do the cover?
yes, I did the cover. And I just didn't
Awesome.
mind. I did it very simple. Nothing, fancy or anything like that because y- like they say, you can't judge a book by its cover, but I really
Right.
didn't want to pay somebody to design it and wind up with this like phantasm ghost coming down the stairs or something because that's not what it's about. You know what I mean? Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You know,
Oh, I know.
yeah.
I've seen covers, and I'm like,
Yeah,
oh
and I'm
my
like,
god,
what
why
does
would
that
they do
have to
that?
do anything to do with it? Because I've had some people show me, what they came up with, and I'm like, I'll just do it myself.
Yeah.
I wanted little Crispy in there, one of my little mascot ghost in there. I love Crispy, and everybody loves him. I mean,
Chris,
well, Crispy's my ghost, my little mascot on my logo.
he has to be there.
He has to be there. He's there. He's up front. He's right in your
He's
face, man.
yep.
Well, see, he's the ghost that he has a backstory.
Ah,
He doesn't know he's a ghost, and he's
he
afraid
doesn't.
of ghosts, and he thinks people are ghosts. See, it makes people think,
Nice. I like the angle.
right? So, and he
That's a
gets
good
real
angle.
excited when I don't know what I'm going to do with him when you come on. But probably have him like looking at a goblin or something. But he gets very involved with the guests. He's an amazing mascot, but he does get scared, and that's the thing. You want to keep it whimsical but serious at the same time because that's the subject, man.
I mean,
So
come on.
yeah,
You can't get out of that subject.
yeah, yeah.
I
Well,
mean,
it's called.
it has to have a little bit of each.
Yeah. Well, see that it's called "We Are All Children in the Wilderness of the Afterlife" because it's like the last frontier, right? So
Yep.
it's a guided tour through a haunted life, and it just goes through all the different things. But we don't try to shove any answers down. It's like I'll tell you what I think it was, but what do you think? Here's all the facts. Filter it through your own filters. Run it through your heart. Do it again. Come up with your own idea because this is what happened to me, and that's just it. It's just like the show, you know.
100%. But everything in this world, and people just don't get it. It's subjective.
It is.
So,
It's all
so I
theories. It's all
right. So
theories. You
like,
can't make it happen again.
some people come up. You get a situation, whatever it may be, and one person will tackle it one way. Another person won't really be as forward tackling it. Some will stand back, let some other people do some of the work before they go in and claim the credit.
Yeah.
Everything's subjective
Yeah.
to the individual.
Yeah.
So, but what really bugs the hell out of me is when someone says, "Well, they did it wrong,"
Mhm.
or "You're not a real investigator," or
Mhm.
if you have your own opinion about something and it doesn't go along with
Yeah.
whatever, now you're a troll online.
Uh-huh.
No,
Or yeah, I get it, man. And it's also too the people that go in and try to make what happened fit the thing that they already had in their mind in the first place. If you know what I mean. And
yep,
something else that bugs me is Sam died in a tractor accident in the house. And the family is in the house and they keep calling the ghost Sam. Oh, it must be
right.
Sam. No. Sam's crossed. He's gone. Sam's happy. He's with his people. This is Joe, and Joe ain't playing. He's really pissed. You keep calling him Sam.
Well, yeah,
But you know what I'm
that's
saying. That little, it sounds
that's a
funny, but it's
huge
not.
problem.
Yeah.
Well, it depends. We again having. I did we do this thing called the New York State UFO Project. We have live meeting once a month. Yes, it was a live meeting. We try to do a live feed on Facebook, and there's a group, New York State UFO Project, but and UFO Roundtable is associated with that too. That's another one of my groups. But it's really funny that we were talking about the fact that if you're an SOB in the real world,
Yes.
when you died, you think you just become like, Jim Neighbors or
No.
some, like Pee Wee Herman or something like that. No, you're an SOB in that world. And
That's
then when
right.
you realize you're scaring the shit out of somebody,
Hmm.
wow, that just juices it up saying, no, I'm going to stay here for a while and I'm going to really mess with these people.
Right.
Um,
I mean, there's several different things that I referenced. That jumpers is one of them. That's what I call them. You might call them something else, but I call them jumpers. I was a
are
bar.
those the ones that just come into the place and just that they take it over at that point?
No, I was a bartender.
Ah,
Okay. So I'm in
right.
this place. I'll tell you the story real quick because you'll love this.
Sure.
If you don't mind. It's your night, and I'm telling my stories, but you'll love this. Okay, so I'm bartending, and I bartended outside of base in Alabama, and I was probably out of the army about 6 months or so, and in this base, it's a learning base, and there was a lot of stuff going. DARPA was there, and
Ooh, nice.
I know. So all these different people. This is interesting stories. Anyway, so people would come in TDY, and that's temporary duty for those who don't understand. And sometimes they'd be there 2 weeks, a month, or whatever. So you get to know some of these people. And I was managing the bar, and most of the time I ran it myself during the day up into the night. And it was a really cool little bar in a hotel, in a really fancy hotel. So
Right.
they'd come and stay, and you'd get to know a lot of these guys. And since I was in the army myself, we had a lot we could talk about and everything else. It was nice. I made it comfortable for them, so they're there for several weeks. They're missing their families and stuff like that, and we just talk. And some people just wanted
Yep.
to drink beer, whatever. So I'd get to know their personalities a little. So this one night, I had this one guy. He had been there about 3, maybe 4, going on 4 weeks, and he's just a real nice family guy. Had young kids, missed his wife, missed his kids. He's always
Right.
talking about his kids and wife. Nice guy. He'd always come in, have one beer, usually order some takeout food, pizza or hamburger or something. Take it up to his room, go to work the next day. You wouldn't see him for a couple days. Come back, do the same thing. So I
Right.
knew him a little bit. Now this one night, he's early. I'm still putting caps on the bottles and stuff, the pour spouts and stuff. And I got my
Right.
back to him, and he's telling me this lovely story about, gee, I wonder what the kids, the family's having for dinner because we were talking about him ordering food. He was really
Right.
hungry. He had his beer, and he's telling me this, and I'm talking to him while looking in the mirror, looking at him, like the big mirror
Right.
behind the bar. And he's telling me about this swing set that he put together for his kids like right before he left, and he was saying, man, I hope I something about the swing set. And I'm like, okay. And as I'm looking up at him, I notice this like gray mist stuff in the mirror, and I honest to God, I thought to myself, man, I got to clean that mirror. You know what I mean?
Right.
And he's going on and he's talking a little bit more, and I'm doing what I'm doing, and all of a sudden I hear this like slap on the bar.
Right.
And I look up, and he's took both his hands and kind of slapped the bar, and his head was down like he was trying to get up, and I thought he was going to pass out. And I'm still looking at him in the mirror, and I notice the gray mist thing is gone. And I turn around and I look at him. I said, "Man, are you all right?" And he just looks up at me, and his whole
Oh,
demeanor changed. his I don't want to say his face changed, man, but his whole body language changed. His face, the way he held his features
Yep.
changed. And he looks up at me, goes, "Shot of tequila, no salt." And
Well,
I'm like, "What?" I've never seen this guy drink anything. I mean, he was totally different. And I'm shocked. And I remember looking at him and I kind of hesitated for a minute. And I said, "Do you have a preference?" And he says, "Gold." And okay. So I
uh,
go, "What are you going to do?" I go and
no,
I go get the tequila and I get the shot glass and I put it in front of him. I pour it. And now he's sitting rolling up his sleeves. And he's kind of looking at the tequila like it's,
yeah.
like it's a hot date.
Oh
And
yeah.
I'm like, "Okay." And I barely got it poured. And he grabs it, shoots it down, wipes his
Yep.
mouth with his arm up to his sleeve, and he stands up, reaches in his pocket. I'm getting scared now. I'm like, "What is going on?" Reaches in his pocket and pulls out, like, feels around for money, pulls out some money, throws it on the bar, and says, "I need change for the pool table." Okay. I got him the
Okay.
quarters. I gave him the quarters. He goes over, he puts a song on the jukebox, and I swear it was like Blackwater. I know it was Doobie Brothers. But anyway, he
Nice.
put it on. I know, right? So he puts that on, and he starts dancing with the pool stick. And I'm like, "This guy's animated. He's different." I'm like, "What in the world?"
What the hell just happened?
He starts playing pool like a pro by himself, just sinking balls. And I'm like,
Right.
"Okay, what are you going to do?" I got to finish opening this bar. A couple more people come in. I go get beer. I come back and I keep my eye on him. He's still dancing. Every once in a while, he's dancing around with a pool stick. He's not causing any trouble, just having a good time. He's enjoying himself,
Yep.
right? So I'm putting some Millers away, and I look up, and he slaps the bar again. And I look up, shot of tequila, no salt. I get him another one. I'm like, "Oh man, this guy, not long before this, almost had a headache from being hungry. He wanted to order food. He was killing a bowl of peanuts, and now he's shooting tequila and play. I don't get it." So I'm watching him. He goes back, plays some more pool, and I'm helping some other customers. And then I notice he's sitting on the bar, and now he's sitting on the bar and he's kind of holding his head. And I walk up to him. I think I may he's gonna pass out or something.
Right.
And I said, "Hey man, are you okay? Can I get anything for you? Sure you don't want me to order you some food?" And he looks up at me and he goes, "Cisco, honey," he goes, "I don't feel good. I think I need to just go to my room." And he's back.
Yep. You want to know what happened? You know what
Jumper.
happened.
Jumper.
Yeah. Vulnerable. Very.
Yep.
Very. He was in a
He
vulnerable
was
state. He
depressed.
was.
Yep.
It was being exhausted,
Yep.
tired,
Yep.
physically tired,
Yep.
mentally tired,
Yep.
depressed for emotionally
Mm-hmm.
tired. He was the prime candidate
Yep.
for anybody that was there spirit wise to go, I want to get me some action.
Yep.
And then
And that's
boom.
a jumper. To me, that's what I call a jumper. They want to
Yep.
taste the alcohol. They want to experience the stuff. I've known ones that come in. They just want to start bar fights and stuff, and the people
Yep.
have no idea. Slap a butt and watch what happens. Maybe the guy next
Oh
to him
yeah.
gets smacked. I've watched all the time. I watched that same gray mist. Now, right after he said that, I looked up and I could see the mist. It went like I caught it over the pool table. I watched it swish over the pool table and then go out through the restaurant doors, and I went, "Oh,
There you go.
man." And I scratched the tequila shots off his tab. I said, "He didn't drink that." I mean, he didn't order it. I'm not charging him. I said, "Tonight's on me, man. Go to your room. I'll have food sent to your room."
Yeah.
But man, I'm telling you, I've seen it. I've seen it, and I've
It.
seen that same one jump in others. And look at
I've.
me. Yeah,
Yep.
it's
We.
crazy.
I've experienced. We went on an investigation to an old place called Letchworth Village, and this is 20. It's either 24,000 27,000 acres, where it was like mentally and frail. It was the unwanted, unaborted kids, the bastard children, babies, whatever it was. I mean, there's a ton of people there, lots of good EVPs and what have you. But one of the places that we didn't get to in this big complex is something called the Letchworth Village Cemetery. And when they found this is miles away. You would never have known it was there. It was just a mound. There are hundreds of people buried there without any markers on it, right?
Oh, jeez.
We were there one night, and this is Al and I, myself, and we're doing an investigation. We're doing a day night type of thing, and at one point, Al has this look. You'll hear it. You can hear it on our evidence. It's like, what's wrong with you? And what's going on? And he goes, nothing, nothing. And I'm like, you could see it.
Mhm.
Something got a hold of him, and it could have I don't it could have been a spirit from the cemetery. It could have been, whatever else in another dimension. But when you see something get Zach Baggins does it a lot on his program. I don't know if half that stuff is a reenactment or if they're actually catching it live. But you know what? You have to be in a really weird place for you to be your guard being so down
Mhm.
that you get taken over by a jumper, as you call them.
Mhm.
Um,
You're
but
gonna
it can
call
be
him that
very,
from
very
now on.
scary. Jumpers.
You're gonna call him that from now on. I know it.
Well, it's really really weird because
Yeah.
when I hear the word jumper, actually, there are people that are jumping time right now, and they're
Yeah.
called
Oh yeah.
jumpers as well.
Yeah.
And this is partial military experimenting. These people that said they claimed to have been to Mars,
Mhm.
and they've been, this guy was just recently arrested in the city for he knew way too many. He was racking in the winds on Wall
Oh
Street,
yeah.
and he finally confessed that he was I'm a time traveler. I'm from this point in time in the future, and I wanted to make some money now so I'd have money in the future, whatever it
Isn't
was.
that funny?
Um,
But you know what?
that, that
If you were, wouldn't that be the first thing you did? I mean,
well, I would probably
gamble.
think about doing that myself. Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, if you know who's going to win or what the
Who's gonna
lottery
win the
is,
fight or the game or
yeah,
I
just
mean, it's
got
yeah.
to remember some dates and numbers, and
That's
you're
it.
good to go, right?
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
stocks or whatever.
Yeah.
Funny thing or very interesting thing about one of the guys that they caught, they had him locked up and he disappeared.
Yeah. I've heard that. Isn't that a
And,
crazy? And
and
my
that is pretty
son, I swear to
insane.
you, my son last week just came into me. We were doing dishes, and he just looks at me. These are the conversations we have in our household. He goes, "Do you know that the CIA watches the lottery numbers to catch all the time travelers?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I did know that. That's cool that you know it."
Yep.
And we went on to the next thing.
I wish
It's
somebody
just
would time travel over here.
right.
Um,
Oh wow,
yeah.
isn't that
Well,
something though? You
it's
know?
it's very it's very interesting between people that are time travelers, the jumpers, and it's just one something very strange happened to me earlier this week, Monday or Sunday or whatever it was. My missus got me really pissed off, and there was a lot of attitude going on in the house, and I just had to get the hell out because I was done.
Yeah.
And I walked outside. I live in an apartment. And I went outside, and I'm just hanging out there, and I'm steaming. I'm like kind of stewing right now, figuring like what the heck I'm going to do with my life, and if I'm leaving or I'm staying or whatever because you get frustrated after a while,
Yeah.
and it was just very very odd. I see somebody like a block or two away. It looks like they're getting off a bus and they're walking and they're wearing a big like fuchsia purple or pinkish type of like puffy coat. And they're walking my direction. And I'm kind of looking, and I notice them, but I'm smoking a cigarette, and it's dark out, mind you. It's like this is why I hate this time of year because it gets like dark at
Dark
5 o'clock,
early.
whatever.
Yeah.
So I'm resting in this partially in a street on my car, and no one else is there. And this person comes by and says, "Have a great night," very nicely.
Hmm.
And it was a woman, and it kind of reminded me of if you've been in the swamp, anybody, someone there, Kara, and I literally had to go. It looked very much like her in the eye area,
Hmm.
and it was a smile. I couldn't explain it more, but I got this. I felt better.
Yeah.
Then I got this whole vibe in my head, like, was that my guardian angel?
Right.
Kind of like doing a check on me or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm sitting there and I'm looking at this. This is seconds, mind you. I'm looking. He said, "You too." I said, "You too. Have a good night." And I meant that I wasn't being snarky or nasty.
Hmm.
And then this all hit me and it's running through my head. So I get up from leaning against the car. I turn around to see this person. They're gone.
Gone. Yeah. Yeah.
So I literally contact Karen. I'm like, "By the way, are you in New York City at any point right now and where I have a pink coat?" And you're like, "No."
Yeah.
She goes, "But I have a lot of doppelgangers." I'm like, this one kind of reminded me of her.
Hmm.
And I've met her online. She's a great, great person, you know, but
Probably
it's
just
really
picked a
weird.
could have just picked a face that you were comfortable with that brought you some calm. I
Well,
mean, it's just
yeah,
it's wild how that stuff happens.
I never got a reading from anybody or anybody has told me who my guardian angels are,
Hmm.
what their names are.
Hmm.
Because you're supposed, most people have more than one.
Hmm.
You have several of them, whatever.
And they
I'm
change
thoroughly,
throughout life. They change
well, yeah,
throughout life as you need
right,
something extra help in something. Yes, they do.
right. I'm thoroughly convinced mine drink
Oh yeah.
because they are nowhere to be found in this in my life right now.
They're
And I
there.
really need them right now.
They're
I'm like,
they're
dude,
there. They're there.
put the tab, cut them off, and bring them back home for a minute.
Okay. You know so much more about this than I do. You are so much wiser than I will ever be when it comes to this. And don't play coy because you are. I mean,
Okay,
just shut up because you are.
okay, I
But I'm
will.
going to tell you, if you've forgotten, because sometimes we go through these things and we forget the little things that mean something, you know, you've
Right,
got it when you go to sleep tonight. I want you for 3 nights in a row, before you go to sleep, right before, you ask them to come to your dream and help you. Give them permission. Because what I'm picking up from is like, okay, you got to this spot where you were on your own for a while and you were handling it.
right.
You got to pull them back in and ask them to come into your dream and give you clear and concise signs.
Oh,
Three nights in a
it's
row, minimum.
I will do it 3 nights in a row. I've done it. I've done it several times, and I've just given up.
Yes.
I have these conversations. My wife, my kids, like, why is Dad talking to himself? Well, first of all, when I do certain problems and I have a certain situation that's taking place, I'll actually discuss it. I'll have a discussion.
Hmm.
Not that I'm crazy.
Hmm.
Sometimes when you hear audio from your, you can think
Yeah.
about it in your head, but when you hear the audio version of what you're thinking,
Hmm.
it kind of triggers some other stuff.
True.
So that, and if you look at the reports, people, most people that do have conversations with themselves when they're working stuff out are a lot more intelligent than they're given credit for. They're not crazy; they're just really smart. Um, but like I've literally got pissed off. My wife's like, "What's wrong with you? What happened?" And I'm like, I'm screaming at God, and I'm like, "You mother pop!"
Yeah.
like, what the hell have I ever done? No, I don't know when I if and when I was chose to come down here into whatever life we're in right now.
Pick.
I
Yeah.
said, you know what? I want to have a really tough, hard
Yes.
life
Yes.
because I swear to God, I want my wings back and get my ass out of here.
Right. Well,
That's
see,
what I
that's
say
it,
said to
man.
him.
I don't know what you believe. What I have come, many of these things, I kind of sit on the fence and I kind of straddle it because I'm not sure where to put what side to put my foot on, and I'm
Yep,
comfortable there until a piece of evidence or something happens that makes my legs swing over. And some of them made me jump the fence. I'm here.
yep,
One of them is this. I totally believe that we've got soul contracts with our soul group. And, to the point where I've had to sit down with my sons, you've kind of sort
right,
of met one of them,
yep,
and sit down and go, okay, I have to go ahead and forgive you for all of this crap. This is your journey. I have the tools that can fix this, but I don't think I'm supposed to. And we've already forgiven each other for that. You chose me because we were going to go through this. Whatever,
right.
however that works out. But we've got to go through this for whatever reason, and we're going to go. And I'm going to love you through it. And you're going to love me back, and this is the way it's going to be. Because I picked, for some reason, I've got two fast trackers. They must have got up there really cocky with a pen and just checked off all the blocks and say, "Give me one of those and one of these and one of these. Oh, give me one of those too. Two of those. Two of those. I'll take two of those."
Yep,
And
yep.
I know I did it too because I could hear my mother from the other side going, "Aha,"
Told you,
But
told
that's
you.
just it. So I really think that in some cases we've got to try to remember that for a minute and go, okay, what did I pick this, or is it something they picked that's coming over on my side? And if that's the fact, what do I got to learn from it and move past it? Because if
It,
not, we're gonna, it's something else is gonna happen to make us go through it again until we get it. So whatever we're
look,
going through, I mean, it
uh,
it
yeah.
seems simple, but it's not. You know.
It's not simple at all. Here's the fun part, right? So I've had my fair share of being a real POS,
Okay.
okay? Because everybody does. You
Mhm.
got your fights.
Oh yeah.
I learned very long after somebody I thought was friends threw me under a bus,
Mhm.
for buying beer underage, whatever it was, and like, okay, I have a choice to make. I can either go down this path or I
Mhm.
can change it.
Mhm.
So I changed it, and I've always been a pretty nice person. I do have a means if you piss me off or you go against me or you betray me, that type of stuff.
Yeah.
There, there is not a place on this planet that you can hide that I will not find you and then destroy you.
Mhm.
But that being said,
Mhm.
um, you know, I literally, I just don't know what the hell I did to
Mhm.
deserve being crapped on so much.
Mhm.
I give so much. I give of myself, and I don't know. A couple of our friends, one of my friends, Andy, we don't know if he slipped, fell, or was pushed from his fifth floor terrace.
Oh gosh.
And we buried him on his 33rd birthday.
Oh God bless him.
Yeah, yeah. Prior to that, another one of our friends, his brother was found. His father died 6 months prior to him dying from cancer. He died because weights fell on his neck.
Mm.
And then the last one was my friend Mike Min. All of us were friends. He was the only American blown up in the London bombing.
Oh God.
Okay, so one of our mutual friends, his name's Riz. He's a very talented channeler, and I can hopefully put you in touch. Great guy, musician. He found his heritage, and he channels, and he's very spiritual, and he can foresee things, and he's living a really wonderful, nice life right now. But he said to me, he goes, they had a contract, they had a blood contract,
Mhm.
and it makes sense
Mhm.
that these guys grew up together and they made a blood contract
Mhm.
and they knew they were going to die early.
Mhm.
I don't know who I have to sign my contract over, but I want to renegotiate.
Mhm. Yeah.
I want to renegotiate right now
Well,
because
that's just it,
honestly,
man.
I need as much help as I can get at this point in
Yeah.
time in the
Yeah.
game.
I
It's just
just really
life's too
see
tough at this
you.
point.
Look, and I'm nobody. I'm
Yep.
nobody. I know nothing. I've been studying this for 45 years. I've got more questions now than I have before.
Yeah.
But I found you at a really hard time recently. And
Oh yeah.
I'll tell you, I took my hand and I went down my list. And I went, really? Okay. But I didn't know. I didn't know. And I made the call. But
Yep.
and you're meeting people that you can do the same thing to. Like I said, I mean, I've got this stuff. I've gotten to the point where I'll lose it. I'm
Right.
definitely I'll lose it all the time. My angry thing is I'm a redhead. I'm from Jersey. I'm Native American and Scottish. What do you want from me?
Oh
But
my God, this is like you're a
yeah, I
tinderbox.
know, I know. Ask the men I've been married to. So ask my sons, my poor sons. But yeah, I still wear high top Converse sneakers. I don't know whether it's to kick him in the butt or to chase him or what, but you know,
Exactly.
I was the mom that when they ran up the tree to get away from me, I very calmly went and got a book and a chair and looked up and said, "You got to come down
Yep.
sometime."
Yep.
You know?
Or that, or our neighbor will return my chainsaw.
Yes. No, I made them come to me. It was
Yeah.
much worse. It's like, okay, this will
Oh
build
yeah.
character. I swear to God, it will. So, but you find certain people, and that's kind of what I was saying in the beginning of this too. Is like when we do these podcasts, I'm finding this chain of paranormal help, for people that call in, or people I get connected with, and they say, look, I really need to talk to somebody about this. And I said, well, where are you at? I got somebody for that. It just turns out to have somebody there that's probably just the right person for that thing. And it's just amazing the people that you meet and
Yep.
the friends that you make. And I know that you are going through this now like a calm in the storm. You've just got to find that calm in the storm. Maybe
It's
I know,
yeah.
man. I know. I so know, and I'm talking
It's
from experience. I know
Yeah,
it's
it's
hard.
really funny. Like a year ago, over a year ago, not last summer, the summer before last, we went down, and my aunt lives in Jersey, so we're down by the Jersey Shore area there, and there's a place you probably heard of it, River Rock. It's like a pub. It's off of like 70.
It's like a block away from my house. Yeah,
Oh, so you're right there. Oh, so
yeah.
you're
Next
literally
time
right
you
over
down
there
at
by the
River
Shark
Rock,
River.
you call me. I'll buy you a beer, man.
Okay, so I went there because it has good food, good pizza. We're hanging out there, and I took the kids there, and they had this, like, it was like just before, at the end of the summer, we went down. We stayed at my aunt's house for a bit. We like Manasquan Beach,
Yeah, yeah,
hanging out there,
yeah.
because it's really more family friendly. And then whatever. So
Hmm.
we're there, and they had, I forgot the psychic's name, but Charmaine or Sharma or whatever. So when I meet someone who says they're psychic,
Uh-huh.
um, it's kind of like a pain in like I have to be a pain in the ass to you.
Yeah.
I test you,
Hmm.
you know. So I said, so she was doing readings. So she kept waiting, 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 and they said, "Oh, it's your turn." And I went over there and said, "No, no, I'm going to take this lady." And we sat down there, and she did an angel card first, right? And the angel card was transformation.
There you go.
And then basically what happened was, after the transformation part, she said, you're going to do something that you were doing in the past, but you're going to do it again now, and it's going to be better. And then it's going to be tough. The money will be slow. It won't always be there, but it's going to get a lot better. things will get better and whatever. But you're going through a transformation. And then she mentions, see, anybody could say these things. You could read people that do some of this
Yeah.
stuff, the card readers,
Hmm.
they're really good at reading body language and
Yeah.
how you react to things,
Yeah.
and they'll expand on it. They're shysters. Okay, they're confidence people.
Micro expressions and stuff. Yeah. Micro
Yeah, and
expressions.
you don't even realize it's like a
Hmm.
poker tell,
Hmm.
okay? But this person, she started going, "Who is this person?" And it was my grandfather.
Hmm.
There's no way in hell,
Right.
no way you should have known who my grandfather was. And she started going into other things. And what about this person? She started giving initials, and she was really, really good. So I told her, I said, I got to let you know that one, I do have my own gifts, and two, part of what I do is I test people, and you've been very, very accurate. So then the whole thing about my 15 minutes went out the door, and we started chatting.
Good.
But she started talking about because like I told her what I do and with the show and whatever. But oh my God, that was the first time I've ever gotten a reading from somebody like that,
Yeah.
and boy, has it been a transformation.
Well, this is what I'm
And
picking up too, man. I mean, I just don't want to lose this. I don't want to cut you off, but
right,
I got to tell you, since like you started mentioning it, you, I don't know whether you've been trying to look into shamanism or you always wanted to do more of that. That's your calling. I mean, I really, I don't know how to express that, but you feel so at home with this Native American, or I don't know whether it's Native American or tribal, or if it's, it could even be, it could be any of
right.
those. But the whole shamanism thing, and you know what that's about.
Oh yeah,
You
I know.
gotta face all that hard stuff to just kind of be one with yourself. I don't care whether you bring it up as far as Hinduism or if you bring it up, it's all the same. It's really the same. It just has different names and a little bit different ways of getting to it. But
100%.
you're going through a lot of that. And I
Oh,
don't know whether I'm getting kind of, and like again, I'm nobody. I'm not a medium. I'm like an extra
you
small.
you are yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah.
You are somebody.
Yeah. Well, I
Yeah.
mean, as far as abilities and what I do, but every once in a while I'll get something on it, and that's coming in strong for you.
Well, it's really funny growing up when, I was trying to explain to people, and apparently everybody has this thing. Oh, I have psychic abilities and I have this and that. And in my past life, I was a queen. I mean, in the past life, I was probably
Hmm.
the piss boy.
Hmm.
Okay. I'm just saying,
Yeah.
I've always had this feeling, and this goes back for many, since I can remember. One, I've always looked at the sky and said, I don't belong here,
Right.
which is kind of really weird.
Hmm.
But I
It's
had
not.
this desire to go into the stars.
Hmm.
And I've seen that sky many, many times before. I always have a feeling of that somewhere down the line,
Hmm.
um, I have native connection,
Hmm.
and a lot of people know. I know a lot about. It really freaks people out because I know a lot about a lot of things,
Uh huh.
but I know a lot about medicine
Hmm.
and how to heal people
Yeah.
and how to take care of people.
Yeah.
And all my friends that are doctors and some of the surgeons, emergency room people, like, you are a waste of talent. You should be a doctor.
Hmm.
You should be a surgeon. Let's go. Let's get it done. I just don't want to put the time in.
Hmm.
It's kind of like, if subconsciously you've done this before, why do I want to redo it?
Yeah, but it's not. It's not. It's not white coat medical. It's more herbal. It's more energy healing and herbal.
100.
Yeah,
Well,
that's what I'm getting
yeah,
off of you.
it's really, I do this every once in a while with the kids, and the kids think you're crazy, but my kids are actually a little bit more open to a lot of the different things. But that whole Reiki thing where you're
Hmm.
using
Hmm.
your life force and your energy to heal and whatever, you can when you meet somebody and their hands,
Hmm.
or they just put their arm near you and you start feeling heat off of them,
Yes.
they're a healer.
Yes. Yes.
They're a healer.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I have that. So
Well,
I know
you
someplace down
should
the line,
definitely be doing. You got to look into this, Brian. I think you'll find a much more calm. It's almost like you're uncomfortable in your own skin. You know what I'm saying?
100%.
Yep.
I mean, that's why I decided that I'm going to become a cult leader. I mean, it's the only way to make the money.
I will not bow to you.
No, 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 no. No, it's just a cult leader. It's just basically we're going to
Yeah.
play a lot of video games,
Yeah.
people, and we're going to hang out and listen to good music,
Yeah.
and that's it.
Rock and roll.
We're going to
Yeah.
marijuana in our backyard.
I would definitely look into that. Maybe give yourself a little retreat. I mean, I know it's hard right now, but plan it. If you plan it, you're that kind of guy. Like if you put it down on paper and you make it a date, you'll do it.
Yeah. Well, 100%.
Mhm.
Here's the funny thing, right? In life, I don't know if you get this too, or I don't know if any of the listeners get this, but there's been certain talk. We were talking about certain things like I've always wanted to go to the country of Israel.
Mhm.
Okay, because I have that's part of my heritage, whatever.
Mhm.
But I know that if I go there at any point in time when I go there, no matter when it is, I'm not leaving there.
I know. Yeah. Yeah.
And I can't explain to you why I'm saying that,
Yeah.
but I'm adamant about that.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't understand why. Um, and then like there's certain things like if I go lately, I've been having for the last couple of months, I have this. It's almost like the same reoccurring dream. I am literally like, and I'm going to say it's New Mexico-ish or Arizona. I'm in the desert. I'm literally outside with a fire pit. It's very much like Native American type of thing,
Mhm.
shaman, drum circle, the whole thing.
Mhm.
And for some reason, I'm really happy.
Mhm.
And and I'm
That's
thinking,
where you're.
sometimes
Yeah. It's
right.
weird. You got to find a way to maybe do something like that. That's why you like these excursions too. And again, I'm just talking off the top of my head here.
Oh
I'm
no,
just
no,
I'm just feeding off of the energy that you're putting out, what I'm getting off the words as far as the
well,
energy wise.
right.
But that's what I'm seeing for you too. But I'm still seeing the shaman thing. There's a song, a book. It's called "The Wind Is My Mother." I highly recommend you read that.
I'm going to write that down. Actually, I'm
The
going to
Wind
search for
Is
it
My
right now.
Mother. The Wind Is My Mother. I actually have a copy and I've read it. So if you can't find it, let me know and I'll mail it to you.
Yep.
Okay?
I just found it
Yeah.
by Bearheart.
Yes.
There we
I
go.
highly recommend you read that and try when you're listening to it and when you're reading it, try to really feel it because I'm telling you, it's going to answer a lot of questions for you. And you don't have that many questions. You have so much knowledge on so many things. You're almost making
Yeah.
yourself crazy. It's almost
It,
like
it's
it's the universe is almost trying to put pressure on you at this point, almost till you pop and make a decision.
well,
Does that make
it's one of those
sense?
things where like no, I totally hear you because to get back a little bit in a way full circle, most people ask like they ask God for whatever, and we use the term God for whatever you believe in.
Mhm.
Okay,
Mhm.
a higher power.
Gotcha.
So I'm like this is why I used to have fights with him,
Yes.
and I'm like, pardon, what the f do you need me or want me to do? You can't just. I'm not going to discover at this point. I'm so jacked up. I need you to have someone come down to me and
Mhm.
say, 2 + 2 is 4.
Yes. Well, that's
That's
what I
it.
told you to
You
do.
know,
You have
right?
got
So
to. You keep doing this thing. It's like you'll move forward like 2 feet and then you'll yank yourself back like three or four, because
story
you
of my
know
life.
what you're supposed to do. Quit doing the paranormal cha cha. So you need to, like I said, calm and then do the 3 day thing with the with your spirit guides and tell them you need clear and concise direction and make it so you can't talk yourself out of it, because you keep telling other people not to talk yourself out of it, but you talk yourself out of it because you've got
Yeah,
all these. Well, you have responsibilities and you're a
that's the
responsible
problem.
man and you're a responsible man, but you can do this and still be a responsible person and even um, be what you're giving off will be even better. But you do need to do this because it's like it's inside of you and it's making you nuts. You know.
Oh, 100%. It's
Yeah, it's
really
making
funny.
you nuts,
So
bud.
so when you contacted me a couple weeks ago and I,
Right.
and I was able to help you out, and I'm very happy I was able to help you out. And I
Cool.
try to and I got to explain to people that when I do what I do, and I don't normally talk about what I do,
Hmm.
and I don't think you were even aware of what I do
I wasn't.
at the time.
I wasn't.
So because it's still not taken the right way by so many people, and
Hmm.
when you're looking for employment, they're like, all right, what number I'm thinking of? I'm like, like what number I'm thinking of? I'm thinking about 5 numbers. I'm going to pump you in the face. So it just so happens that you know, as soon as you meant, I read that, I started getting that Holy the Peach thing, and
Uh-huh.
that's
Uh-huh.
so I get these signs, but I've been doing this for years, not knowing exactly what I was doing until I actually talked to our the person psychic on our team was a fantastic lady, Cindy, and we were working with each other, and she's explaining to me all these different things.
Hmm.
Make sure you ground yourself. If
Hmm.
you're going to go someplace, you put a bubble of white light, golden light, and protection of
Right.
the higher power around you, and then an added protection and pay attention, people. This is very important.
Mhm.
You make the bubble covered in mirror.
Mirror. Mhm.
Now you could see through the mirror, but they can't see who's in the mirror. So this way, there's going to be like no attachments right there.
Right.
But one of the things, I have the most incredible, vivid dreams. I used to have a dream journal, and that's part of something I'm talking about publishing, mind you. And I'm just going to tell you about a dream. You're talking about a healer, okay? So I was literally, it's as if I was physically there. I could still see it in my head. And when you experience something in life, you remember it
Right.
as if you were there. You could literally close your eyes and remember this, what the smell was like. I mean, I remember being in Hawaii. I could tell you what the smell was. The breeze. I could feel it
Mm.
because you've actually experienced it. So,
Mhm.
my dream consisted of the following, which is very weird. And you tell me what just took place.
Okay.
It was like a Middle Eastern-ish type of situation, mud type of huts, walls. It was at night. I heard somebody moaning like they were dying in there, like, and then people yelling, talk, 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 like they were like hurting somebody. And I heard water sloshing around, and it was middle of the night. So I kind of started creeping up closer, and I moved into this little. The light was there from a fire, and I moved into this hut, and I saw these two soldiers grabbing this person that's in this big clay tub and drowning him. Basically, they're waterboarding this guy,
Right.
okay, without the board, but they're doing it underwater, and this hair everywhere, and he's grasping for air. And I said, "This is wrong." And I grabbed the sword, like one of those long stabby swords, like a Roman, sword,
Mhm.
and I stabbed one of them. He went down, and the other one I cut. And I said, "Get the hell out of here!" And he ran out in fear. And I put my hand in the water, and I pulled up this person, and I said, "Are you okay?" And the hair flew back, and staring me in the face was none other than a man with bluish eyes, a beard,
Uh-oh.
and looked like shitload like Jesus,
Wow.
which was very, very odd. And there was this sincerity in this, like a
The
pouty,
bluest eyes you've ever seen, and the calm that's in those eyes are
but there,
so.
there was a thankfulness in that
Yes.
eye.
Oh my
And
gosh.
and he just looked at me with this like when a kid's sick or your dog's sick. It sounds
Yes.
really weird, like these puppy dog eyes, and said, "Thank you."
Okay.
And that was my dream. That was it. I
What
said, "You
makes
got
you
to get out of
think?
here."
What makes you think that that wasn't a past life?
I have a feeling it was. I don't know if it was a past life or not. It was so real. It was beyond belief.
Hmm.
So I wrote that stuff down.
Right.
I write all
Right.
these things down.
But see
Um,
now, I used to have those dreams too. My poor mother. Um, I totally believe. Look, I'm just going to give you what I'm getting. And what I got
yep.
when you were saying that was it was almost like it was a past life. Now, whether he was actually the one that was there or if it
Right.
was more of a message thing. Do you see what I'm saying? I'm not 100%
100%.
on that, but I do think that it could have very well been a past life thing. And I don't just think that when I first heard your voice, it was really weird because not
Right.
tonight, it was another time.
Right.
The first thing I got from you was well, we're all old souls. You know what that you hear that and you
Yeah.
go okay, but you've had other reincarnations on other planets and things like
Yeah.
that too. I really do. I really do believe that, and it's. I know it sounds weird, and people hear this and they go, "What? How could you only? Why would you think that this is the only place that you reincarnate to? Come on now."
No, no, no. I would never. I'm not
Yeah,
even thinking of it that way.
yeah.
I'm just thinking of it. It's very. It's really funny. I'm not of that faith,
Mhm.
but I'm a very spiritual person.
Mhm.
So I accept Jesus I believe in Jesus, and I
Oh yeah.
believe that Jesus existed.
Oh
Okay,
yeah.
I'm not going to deny it, but I also believe there's other things, and I kind of
Mhm.
lean towards the one I was born into,
Mhm.
this lifetime or whatever you want to call it, more so.
Mhm.
But I'm very open to it. I'm very open to people believing what they believe in. But once you cross that line and you push your shit onto
Right.
me,
Right.
then we're going to come up to 3%. And
Right.
if anybody knows what 3% is, just look at 1776.
Oh yeah.
Okay?
Oh
It's
yeah.
not going to happen.
I just
This is where we
believe I
draw the
really
line.
believe they're all right in some way. I really believe that if you I mean as long as it's not hurting everybody. I mean there's some really crazy stuff out there. But I mean I really believe. Look at like we said earlier, Native American,
Yep.
look at some Wiccan. look at some, look at, I mean, there's so many different things. And basically, if you boil it down to, take care of yourself, take care of others, take care of the earth, be kind to one
Right.
another,
It's the same
forgive.
thing.
It's all the same stuff. But I honestly, I have to tell you, because my listeners know this, I honestly believe because of some of the things we've been up against, there's only some things that are going to work on some things and some things are going to work on others. I saw the most beautiful near death experience that a person had. It was actually was on TV, but it was actually a decent
Right.
show. And she saw, oh, it was a Hindu god that came to her, and she was in so
Uh,
much trouble. She was an abused child, and I wish I could remember his name because he was so cool looking. They were so colorful. They had so much.
uh,
They were like beautiful blue pantaloons and stuff on, and all the like a lot of gold stuff and everything. And she said she didn't know why she saw him, but after she saw him, um, many things happened to change her life. She, like I said, she was an abused child, and things happened after that. She
right.
just felt so calm, and I'm like, why not? Why not? Why is there just one for, I just believe
No,
it all comes from this big universal, all knowing, all love energy, if you know what I'm saying,
there's a see. You
and
got to
it's
understand something here.
universal all over the place.
Right.
That's
You
just
have to
me.
understand something. It's every faith has the ultimate leader,
Yep.
whatever it is. Now that we're going to call reference God right now.
Okay.
Okay, whoever you think God is, that's what it is. But then God has his messengers, and I say it's a he because if it was a woman, we'd all be dressed better. Okay, but that's besides the point. So I'm going to give sidebar on that one,
Yeah.
but that's the truth. We'd be dressed a lot better.
Yeah.
So he sends out his minion or messengers, and they come in a variety of different forms.
Sure.
They've come in Buddha,
Yep.
they've come in Confucius,
Yep.
they've come in Jesus,
Yep.
they've come in Abraham,
Yep.
Isaac, Moses, you name it. They've come in Sheba, they've come in all these different things.
Allah.
Okay,
Yeah.
Allah as well.
Yeah.
But the problem is by doing that, the message gets diluted and
Mhm.
polluted, and people now are reverent about their own. Like, no,
Yeah,
Allah
but
is
man,
blah blah blah,
dude,
and they become militant and shit.
yeah, but if you
You know,
understand that all that love and energy and all knowing and all the high, you want to talk vibration, the
yep,
highest vibration that you can imagine, you know, and then when you start diluting it, you start losing that high vibration. You start getting lower and lower and lower, and man starts putting his power plays in and the
yep,
fear and everything else, and then you start coming up with all these splits. But if you go back to the center, you know, and that's where I kind of try to reside. I mean, if you look at my
right,
backyard right now, I've got I've got Saint Francis because he was kind to animals. I've got
yep.
Confucius. I have a monk. I have several different Buddhas. I've got Jesus. I've got the Holy Mother. I've got it's like
Well,
all
it's really
wisdom is not found in one place, and it makes me calm because it reminds me, and then it's all surrounded by nature,
right,
and then it's surrounded by animals, and I watch the animals, and I watch how they how they jive and how they
right.
chill with each other, and go back to nature, you know.
Yeah, in going back to your roots
Mhm.
in Native American roots,
Mhm.
you have the Great Spirit
Yep.
who is God,
Mhm.
and then you have Mother Nature.
Mhm. Mhm.
And or Mother Earth, we'll call her
Yes,
Mother
Mother
Earth.
Earth. Yeah.
And it's I never I thought it was a little bit hokey pokey, whatever. Some people, oh, we got to love our vibration and raise our vibration and love each other and stuff. It's not about the loving each other,
Mhm.
okay? And I got to be honest because you got to read when the Ten Commandments were set in stone, okay? It's not that God said, "Thou shalt not kill." I want to remind everybody that it was specific. It's he God said, "Thou shalt not murder."
Mhm.
He did give you the ability to kill. And I'm not condoning don't go out and kill anybody, people,
Mhm.
but that's a fact.
Yeah.
Because there are times when you will need to do that.
Uh huh.
Okay?
To
But the
protect
whole
your own
thing is
yourself. Yeah.
I yeah, I think what we've lost in this world, and I've lost it too, and I've talked to my buddy Riz about it and whatever is, I used to listen to a lot of music all the time.
Mhm.
Music makes me feel so good. You get a good song in there,
Mhm.
like one of the songs, like it just came on the other day. I had a Baker Street, Jerry Rafferty.
Oh gosh, what a great song. You and
what
I
did it,
like a
I'm
lot of the
like,
same music. You and I
um,
dig a lot of the same music. We'll
oh
always share each
yeah.
other's songs. Yeah.
You start hearing these
Yeah.
songs and like and you start hearing like One Way Out. Now One Way Out's a pretty interesting song because it's basically about adultery, but it's
Yeah.
such a great song. Whatever, you getting that
Yeah.
going, and like
God, we're
you
happy
just feel
music.
better, and then your life
Oh.
feels better, and you start smiling like, wow, I feel really good.
Oh.
The difference in music, and I'm gonna go crazy there. They have some music that's pretty interesting today, but it's not like it was before. People felt good, and when you start feeling good,
Yep.
you raise your vibration.
Vibration. I
You
dance
don't even
barefoot
know
in
it.
my kitchen. I dance barefoot in my
Yep.
kitchen, and I will sing. You know what? This is funny. This just popped into my head, but it kind of has the same. It fits. Black Eyed Kids.
Yes.
Now, this is going to sound funny, but Steve Stockton had a real bad experience with Black Eyed. Has anybody ever had a good one? So he was telling his story one night, and we were on
Yeah.
Shannon's show, Into the Fray, and we were doing a show.
Right.
And he's telling his story, and that's all, dude. That's got to me. That's got a lot to do with like energy, and that whole pop in and it sound like that breaking the sound barrier sound and thing. I'm thinking,
Yep.
you know, they're so interdimensional. It's got to be. It's got to be something like that. So anyway,
It's yeah.
but they're drawn to the energy as well. I think. I don't know. I don't know. But anyway, he's telling this story because you hear these stories about people reading about him, talking about him, and all of a sudden, boom, there they are. What's that about? So
Yeah.
he's telling this story. Well, that night I hang up because it's like 2 o'clock in the morning. We hang up, and I go in the bathroom, and I hear this knock on my door, and I'm like, "What?" You know,
I'm like, no,
no, who's knocking on
answering
my
it.
door at 1:30 in the morning, right? So I have a thing. We've got cameras and stuff, and I'm looking. I can't see anything in the
Right.
camera, and I just stand by the door and I start singing joy to the world. I'm just going off and I do like half the
Yes.
song and I just
Jeremiah
raise the
was a
vibration.
frog.
Yeah. And I just raised the vibration and it never knocked again. And I'm like, okay, that was nothing. It was just my imagination. I
Right.
get up
No, it
the
was
next
there.
I get up the next morning and there's another knock on my door. And I'm like, I start singing the top of my lungs again. I'm singing Joy to the World. And I'm just belting it out, right? And
Right.
it went away. Later on, I go to get in my car and I open up the door and the Watchtower magazine fell on the floor and I went, uh oh. I'm like, Black Eyed Jehovah's Witnesses, I'm so sorry because I don't know what they thought. I mean, I don't mess with anybody. I'll open the door and I'm
Right.
like, thank you so much. I'll read that later. You have a
Yep.
wonderful day. I gotta go. Because if
Yep.
you talk too much, I got nothing but respect for the work that they do. That's a hard job,
Y-
or
You
any
got
of
to give
that.
him credit.
But I'm thinking, I'm just, that's hard. And
Oh yeah, it is.
oh my gosh, phew. So I'm just thinking, what are they thinking? Because I'm singing "Joy to the World" on the outside of the door. I hope they. I'm like, I hope they didn't think I knew it was them, and I don't know what.
No.
But
Well,
anyway,
that it's
raise
better
the
for you.
vibration because if it was something, and they're standing there, they're trying to do this kind of hypnotic. Um, I don't know whether it's telepathic, hypnotic. I don't know if they've got some kind of wild powers, but it just seems to me that when you raise the vibration around, they can't stand it and they
You
leave.
know, I associate any of these like these black-eyed children
Mm-hmm.
with the black shadow people.
Mm-hmm.
And I associate well through Rosemary and Guiley.
Mm-hmm.
She's heavily into the jinn, so
Yeah.
she's done a lot of research on them,
Yeah.
and she says that's
It's
that's
all
part of them.
connected. It's all
Um,
connected.
in my entire life, I've never experienced any of the shadow figures
Mm-hmm.
in the rooms and
Mm-hmm.
stuff, leaning over your bed, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But I was talking to Kat about this, and she because she saw a smaller one, and I said, well, the way I've researched it and I've figured from these things, and I can't tell you if I'm true or accurate or not, is the same thing with the black eyed children. Is they it's kind of like Monsters Inc., right? So the monster comes into the little kid's room, scares the crap out of them to fill up an energy jar that they use. They need that energy.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same thing. I think these creatures, these children,
Could be a.
and these shadow people that come visit you with the hat and the brim hat are doing that because they prey on your energy
Mm-hmm.
and they want you to have that scared fear.
Mm-hmm.
That's where it gets more intense. That's where they get their food or their nourishment
Mm-hmm.
from. And
Mm-hmm.
when you come in there and you're singing joy to the world, it totally
Blows
messes
them
up their
away.
groove.
Yeah.
It's like
Well, this
I
is what
can't
I'm
do this now.
saying. How crazy does that sound? But you got a better plan because that's just it. I mean, it's. I really think it has a lot to do with that fear. I mean, I was talking to somebody else about it earlier when I was telling my head flying story, and I was saying, the guy didn't come at me with just his head to scare me. I
Right,
think that's all he had the energy to manifest, and he was concentrating so much on the scream and the anger
right,
to get the attention that's all he can manifest. Mark Nesbitt came by. I was doing an interview with him, and he told me a similar story in a bed and breakfast in Gettysburg, where the guy at 1 o'clock in the morning, whatever, wakes up, feels something weird going on. He hits crackle pop, a little bit of sparkle, and all of a sudden here's this guy, but it's half a guy. It's like
right.
midriff up, and he just loses it, and he's all this fear and screaming and stuff like that, and the guy's just standing there, and then he fades away. Well, he goes downstairs and tells the manager of the place, and he's describing him, and the manager goes, hold on a minute. He goes and gets this photo album, and he starts thumbing through it. He goes, was this the guy? And he goes, yes, that's him. The guy used to live there, used to own the place. Bam.
Right.
Well, then he finds out eating breakfast. The manager comes up, taps him on the shoulder, and he points at this other man. And he said he had the same experience, and they started talking. And 2 hours later, in his room down the hall, here's
Right.
the same guy, but he's full apparition now. So, did he get enough energy from the fear from the guy and the energy off of him to fully manifest later down the hall to the other guy?
I
It's a
I
theory.
think yeah, no, I think fear. See, fear plays fear and happiness and joy and the both sides of joy and pain,
Uh
which is another interesting song, but that's besides the point. Um,
huh.
they all have it's all about energy and it's focusing your energy. So when you're joyful,
Uh huh.
I mean, and when you're really happy and everything's kind of starting going your way, even more things start going your way. And I've been trying to be very positive, but like somebody keeps screwing that up. So I'm going to talk to them tonight, hopefully, in the next couple of nights.
Sing Joy
But
to the World.
joy to the world. That's great. Well,
Jeremiah was a
yeah, if
bullfrog.
I
Just let
scream
it
that
go.
out right now, while my wife and kids will wake up, like, what the heck is wrong with
In your
you?
boxer shorts, bare feet, singing into a
Yeah, yeah,
hairbrush.
exactly. Um,
That'll either fix it or break it, kiddo.
100%. Like, get him out of the room. But that is energy. That's
Yeah,
pure
it
energy.
is.
I don't know if you listened to Cat Ward's Paranormal Heart,
Uh huh.
and she had I forgot his name. He's the PhD guy. He does safety. He talks about safety, and his experience was it was his last day. He got his PhD. It was the one last thing he had to do was deliver the PhD to the room, check it in, and he was done. Everything was good. He was having the best day of his life, and in the process, he literally traveled back in time and he
Wow.
couldn't figure out how that happened and what was going on. And I said, it's very simple. When you subconsciously you've raised your energy so much that you able to manifest and transfer yourself and open a portal. That's my thorough belief. I can't prove it right now, but I think that's why these yogis have so much positive energy and good vibes that they're able to create they're able to transfer that
Hmm.
energy elsewhere and also create all portals. So if you're creating a portal to another world or universe or a higher plane, what's to say that when you're really bad and let me tell you something, when stuff starts happening to you and it just keeps
Right.
compounding and boom
Right.
boom boom, you're enhancing that negativity
Yes.
and the energy. It's like a
You're
vacuum and a
magnifying
mag.
it.
Boom,
Yes.
it sucks you like anything and everything goes wrong.
It's so true.
Like right. So, this
Why wouldn't
happens
the
and
opposite be true then? I
right.
mean,
So
I agree
black
100%.
children. So with when you said about the ghost though coming and appearing, maybe it was a little bit of each. And now that these two guys got together and this thing appeared again,
Mhm.
they're not as scared. Maybe this is where the dialogue could take place.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. Yeah. Well, not only that, man, but something I've learned about this great paranormal onion, every time you peel back a layer, there's 10,000 other questions.
oh God, yes,
Which, I mean, the bullseye's always moving, which is why it's so alluring. But I have been kind of standing back and looking at the situation and going, okay, what if they both misunderstood the whole thing? Because I wanted to talk to the guys, and see,
right,
hey, what's up? maybe the ghost did it so they would talk and get together, and maybe they both had a similar problem, or something, a friendship kind of thing. Because I've tell you
Right.
more times than not, I've found out that people are misunderstanding the haunting for whatever reason. I mean, there's always just your common everyday ghost, jumped here.
Right.
Hey, I'm here. But in some cases, things happen to get you with another person or stop you from doing something, so you can,
Right.
to help you out. There was one that it's not famous, but um, it was a famous guy it happened to. He was very much like my friend in the bar. He was on a job. He was away from home. He had to finish a job. He's an actor. And
Right.
3 months he's in this place, and he just wanted to go home. He wanted to see his kids. He missed his kids so bad. Great dad. And
Right.
he starts seeing this little girl in the room. Now he goes down and talks to, again, the manager. The manager tells him, well, a little girl died on the stairs. She was chasing a ball. She fell down. It was like a three-story thing.
Ooh.
And she died here, like 50 years ago or something like that. Again, they just filling in the blanks.
Right.
Nothing, malicious. They just didn't know. He goes around for 10 years thinking this is what happened, and he's seeing this little girl. Now he gets with somebody that really knows what they're doing, and they go back and they revisit the situation. And she tells him, wait a second, that did happen. The little girl did die with the ball.
Right.
I'm fine. She's crossed. She's good to go. She's not haunting this place. That was not her. Who you saw was someone who died in the apartment next to this, like used
Wow.
to be apartments. Her and her brother were the father had died. The mother was a drug addict. The apartment caught on fire. They hid in the closet. They died of smoke inhalation. The brother crossed. The girl stayed.
Right.
The girl was drawn to him, missing his kids so much. She clicked into an energy.
Yep.
She was looking for a parent who adored their children. That's what she needed, and he was adoring his children, and she clicked into that energy. It's all about energy, and a lot of this
Yep.
stuff is so mistaken, and I just really find that so fascinating.
Oh, it's a huge part of it. So like when we do investigations through the Bronx Paranormal Society, right? So when we go investigation, first of all, anybody that's going on the investigation has to be vetted through the psychic. And there's reasons for it. It's for safety and security reasons for everybody and all, because they have to say, well, how about this person? And they'll say, nope, they can't go. They're too nervous, and they're gonna, they'll bring something back. So
Yep,
we vet through everybody.
makes sense.
But I've always told Al in the group, and I said, listen, I know that sometimes it takes a long time to get an investigation, or it's a great place and whatever. But if I get to that front door or wherever we are, and I just have this feeling, I'm not going in.
Right.
And I advise you not to as well.
Mhm.
So I'm not going to be responsible for you at that point. If I'm telling you don't go in there, don't go in there.
Mhm.
There's a reason for it.
Mhm.
If we're dealing with anything demonic,
Mhm.
I don't deal with it.
Mhm.
I'm not. That's well above my pay grade. And I'm an ordained minister, mind you,
Mhm.
and that's well above my pay grade. There are other people that know how to handle this better than I do, and I don't want to bring anything home to the kids. So there's an energy there. There was one time we were supposed to do an investigation, and I was having a lot of hard time in my life, and this was kind of recently, and I said no, I'm not going. I wouldn't go. And they're like, I talked to Al because we're like brothers from different mothers, and we were really good guys and close. And I'm like, I explained to him what was going on. He goes, yeah, you're not going,
Mhm.
because if you get to a place,
Mhm.
and I'm trying to tell you, all your fans are listening now, Halloween's coming up.
Mhm.
And just because you're going to a haunted house, a made believe haunted house, doesn't
Mhm.
mean that there isn't something negative and bad there. They're
Mhm.
attracted to this stuff.
Oh
So
yeah.
before you go there, you better bless yourself. You ask for
Mhm.
prayers, for whoever, be it Saint Michael or whoever you believe in, say, Lord, put a bubble of protection around me, and
Mhm.
don't let me take anything home. Peace, love, and light is all I have.
Yep.
That's it.
Mhm.
Okay? Because these things are attracted to these events.
Mhm.
People don't realize it.
Sure.
It's not a joke. So if you go into a place and you're negative, or you're feeling bad, or you have a cold, or you're just depressed,
Mhm.
let me tell you something.
Don't go.
If you want to talk about an opportune moment,
Mhm.
you will not know what the hell hit you.
True. I call
What
it
hit you?
cracks in your windshield,
Yep.
because you have that little crack and it just needs a little pressure, and that's it. and
Up.
they know, and they got all the time in the world. And this is why I tell I constantly, I don't understand what is the constant argument about Ouija boards and this and that and everything else. Listen, I'll say it again. You can write with a Sharpie on your floor and use a mason jar. It has nothing to do with the board, it has to do with your intent. And
Yep.
wherever you go, it's the same thing. It's just like the jumpers in the bar. I would watch,
Yep.
listen to me, man. I worked there for 5 years. I would watch that mist. Sometimes it was gray, and sometimes it was white gray. I can't
Hmm.
explain that changed. But it would almost go down the bar, just picking somebody. And
Well,
it
you
just,
know, yep, they're looking for the right guy or the drunk
exactly.
guy or whatever. And let me
Exactly.
tell you something, and I'll just tell you on my personal opinion. I played with a Ouija board growing up. You know, I thought it was, oh, it's cool. Well, spirits. Let me tell you something. Where I live, I wouldn't leave my front door open,
Yep.
and I wouldn't let anybody in that I didn't even know.
Mhm.
So why would you do something and play with something that has the ability to open a door
Yep.
that you cannot close,
Mhm.
and you don't know
And
what the
this
hell's
is
coming in?
too. I'm going to tell you, there's not a lot of high vibrational beings running around waiting for teenagers to pull out a Ouija board. They're
No,
going to be lower vibrational that you're going to connect into, and you better know your energy. You better know everything you're going through and where all your protection and where your cracks in your windshield are, and you better
you
know
know,
everybody else is in that room. Now
right?
that's a
Because
lot to know.
I tell you, and I just say for me personally, I will never let my children play with them.
Mhm.
I won't play with them. I don't want to be around them.
Mhm.
My brother-in-law, who I'm not talking to at this point,
Mhm.
um, for his own selfish reasons and whatever, but when he bought a house in Jersey, actually, they found a Ouija board there. I said, you need to take that out and back and burn the shit out of it.
Yeah, or bury it and
Get
do
it out
salt
of this
over it.
house.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because it also too, it's like this. People don't realize it. They'll say, "Well, I did it and nothing happened." I said, "Really? How about your neighbor? How about the person downstairs? How about the person that left and you don't know?
Yep.
Did anything happen to them?" Because they got all the time in the world to wait. It's just like an acorn dropping in a tree, in the fertile
Yep.
ground. They're going to wait till all the conditions are just right and zap. And it's because you're giving them permission. You're calling for it. It's like picking up a payphone in on the road, and you just dial any
Yeah.
number, and
Yeah.
now they got your number and you don't have theirs, and they can wait all the time. They got all the time in the world. Some of these things, man, it's just we've seen it. How many times people
Oh yeah.
call up and ask. That's why I laugh at some of these people on TV. I mean, there's a new one coming up now. It's they're going to open the Dybbuk box, but the Dybbuk box
Oh,
supposedly was opened like what 2 years ago on a radio show or something like that. I mean, stop with the Dybbuk box, man. The, stop.
that's not a joke.
It's
That
not a
is
joke.
not a
It's
joke.
not a joke. But the thing is, I got as upset about this as I got upset when they started doing live exorcisms on live TV. I'm like, what are you
Oh,
nuts?
it's not.
What are you
You're
out of your
broadcasting it to
mind?
everybody's house.
What do you? It's electronic, you know,
Yes.
and
It's energy and it
it's
transfers to
energy.
everybody's house. It's like
Yeah,
having a direct line to
yeah.
Satan or whoever you want to call down
Talk to
there.
Bill Bean, man. He'll tell you, the stuff that's some of the stuff that's going on. It's crazy. I mean, energy. If energy can work one way, it can work another. So,
Yep.
just find yourself, find your light within, surround yourself with that, find your protection, whatever you feel comfortable with, your divine, and
Well,
wrap yourself in it, man. Cleanse your house, you know, uh, do whatever, because
well, it.
it's a
Yep.
crazy world. I mean, it's like there's like a black fog right now. Do you feel this? It's like
Yes.
a
No.
black fog. You ever see Fallen?
I think a long. Yeah. Yeah. A while
Denzel,
ago. That was on a while
Denzel,
ago, right?
Denzel, and I think John Goodman was in it.
Yep.
Do you remember how it moved through the crowd and just touched, and all you did was touch another, and it jumped, and it
Yep.
jumped, and it jumped, and it jumped, and it went past some people. It went past them for a reason. This is kind of what we're talking about, and it feels like a combination of that and maybe the stand.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of. I literally I say to everybody like we are living Sodom and Gomorrah right now.
Mm.
If you want to get biblical, people,
Yeah,
it's
right.
like Sodom and Gomorrah.
It feels like the
Um,
stand, man. Did you read the stand or the movie's kind of stuck?
I've
The
read
book was.
part. I've read The Stand, but I also saw the movie. I mean, I'm not a huge Stephen King fan, only because it's always the same characters.
Yeah,
Okay, I need a disabled person who's
yeah.
mentally retarded.
Well, I'm
I need a
talking more
blind
about the
black woman or
separating.
black man, and
Remember how? Yeah, I get it. I get it. But
yeah, it's the same thing.
you know how everybody kind of went to Las Vegas and some people went to the cornfield with the lady with the guitar. I'm
Yep.
feeling this kind of separating thing going on. I
I'm
just, it's just crazy. It's making me nuts.
I'll tell you. On the same vein, I'm going to make a recommendation for people too. Is I don't know if I know you make the jewelry and stuff, but I don't know if you deal with sage at all. But if you
Oh
do,
yeah.
buy sage from Cisco if she's selling it. I highly recommend everybody has sage in their house, and you can carry a little sage in your pocket too.
Yeah.
Another thing you should carry in your pocket is you go out and you have to buy kosher salt.
Cost you salt. Yep.
It has to be kosher salt, and I'll
Mhm.
tell you why. It's not a Jewish thing. It's pure salt,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
it's been used in everything for millennium. It is the ultimate protecting device. What you can do is you can put a little bit of salt in your pocket
Mhm.
in a little plastic bag. Don't put too much because if you get pulled over, you're gonna have a lot of explaining to do.
Yeah. Right.
Which I'm going to have a lot of explaining to do because I always have salt
I
on
have
me.
a medicine
Um,
bag around my neck, and I can't tell
yep,
you how many times I've been stopped and they say, "What's in there?" Sometimes I get cocky and say Tylenol because
well,
people don't understand what medicine means,
right, right,
But the
yeah.
stuff that I have in there, it's yeah,
You got to
I
protect
do like I
yourself,
like the Palo Alto wood as well. I like that
right?
too, and the
And
sage.
sage is good. Tourmaline is good, I
Yeah.
believe.
Mhm.
But what I recommend is this, and the reason why I like salt is you can buy it in abundance and you can put it anywhere.
Mhm.
If you have a problem in your house and you want to keep something out bad out,
Mhm.
salt your window frames and your door frames.
Yeah.
Yes, it will eventually blow away, and then you'll have to do it again, but it's no one will notice it.
Mhm.
Also, if you find the center of your home,
Mhm.
wherever that may be, if it's three levels, you can find the actual center of your property.
Mhm.
You can put salt in a little bag or a vial, or and you put it in the center there. Don't touch it; just fill up the vial there, and it protects your entire home because it's in the
It's in
centermost
the
portion.
center.
You can sprinkle salt if you're going. Let's say you want to go on a job interview, you want a little bit more extra credit luck, or you want to keep yourself safe and secure. Take a little salt, sprinkle it into your car. You can sprinkle it actually into your shoes, put it in
Mhm.
your pockets, and you're gonna be like, "Why am I putting salt in there?" Trust me when I tell you, it works.
Mhm.
Okay,
Mhm.
just a little bit of salt will do that, but you should always protect yourself. And I think saging is a great way of
It
protecting
is,
yourself.
and I can't tell you how many people don't know. I didn't. I was up at the Gettysburg Bash not too long ago, and
Right?
I met with KSPS, and we had some wonderful times because they're very like-minded, very kind. There's not provoking. There's nothing. They're there.
Yep.
It's just a kind approach. And after everything was over, that Sunday morning before everybody left, I took everybody out on the grounds, and I brought my sage, and I brought my shell, and I have. I was cleared by my elders to wear. I don't know if people know that, but you have to be cleared to wear certain things, certain symbols and feathers and things,
Right.
and they go with your character. And I
Right.
was pulled to the side and told that I was cleared to wear buzzard. I had buzzard medicine, which I thought was at first sounded
Wow.
funny. I know.
I've
And
never heard of buzzard medicine
buzzard
actually.
medicine, how cool is that? But you think,
That is really cool.
most people would go, "Ooh." Well, there's a huge group. I mean, if you think about it, of the birds that come under buzzard. Now, what their
Yes.
medicine and medicine people is characteristics. That's what it is. It's misunderstood. But its characteristics are to be able to turn a negative to a positive.
That
And I
right.
thought, man, that's beautiful. That's so cool. And here's my elders telling me I've got that, and I'm like, wow. And it's very humbling because you have to deal it with reverence. It's like, okay, now I have to do better. That's kind
Right.
of so. And then
Yeah.
turkey, which is thankfulness, gratefulness, and selflessness, which I thought, wow. So I could wear them. So I had to make my own fan. I had to clean my own buzzard. We won't get into that, but I did barefooted in a skirt. It had to be barefooted in a skirt, and I did it. But
Ooh.
every piece of that buzzard had to be used and gifted, and I was allowed to make my own saging fan, and I still have it.
Ah.
So I took that out, and I did a sage cleansing for all the people that were on the investigative team. It was really nice, and you did the whole ceremony. I did the whole ceremony for them, and that's something that you have to be cleansed before you go in the circle to dance. Everybody has to be cleansed in a powwow
Yep.
or a dance. So that's what I did for them, and they just felt so good afterwards. They just felt like all that negativity lifted off of them from the night before and everything else. So I highly recommend you doing something like that. But now, when you're doing it in your house, you must open the windows,
Yes.
or else you're
You know
just
that is
chasing the
one of the
spirits
number
around.
one mistake. That's the number one mistake people make.
Yeah, you have to open the windows. You start in one section and you move through and you say your blessing. And if I do a house cleansing for somebody, the first thing I ask them is, do you have a faith base? If you don't,
Right.
what do you feel comfortable with? Because whatever I do in your home, you have to continue it. And if you don't believe in it, I might as well just throw a slipper at it because
Right.
it's all about your intent and in what you believe in. So there, do that. You
Right.
know,
And let me tell you something with the I don't know if you do it this way, but I find that also that when you're doing that saging of the house, even if you have those people that aren't really heavily religious,
hmm
you can actually just take your home back saying there's
absolutely.
nothing but love, light, and happiness here.
Yes, yes, that is your basic.
Everything else must leave.
Must go. Must go.
Right.
Only
It's,
positive can stay, and everything
yep.
else must leave. And I've
Exactly.
had people that have had real issues. I say, take back your home. And one of the things I've added to it, I was taught by somebody else, and I love it. After they leave each room, you stomp your foot, say, "This is my home," and I reclaim it. You
Ah.
cannot stay. And it's good because you're reclaiming your territory, you know. And that also works a little bit for not again, people, not everything is a bad spirit. There's definitely
Right.
stuff out there, but a lot of times you just have a confused ghost or a ghost that thinks this is their house. You don't know how they're seeing things. You might be, that's why Crispy feels this way.
Right.
You might be the ghost to them. You see,
Right.
like that movie, The Others.
Right. And it's really interesting because depending on the people we're talking about, if you have young children, they are beacons in this.
Oh yeah, yeah.
They are beacons, especially females.
Mhm.
Um, they bring this stuff in. Just
Mhm.
picture a dark room. Picture you being stuck in a dark room.
Mhm.
You don't know where the door is, right?
Right.
How and then all of a sudden a light pops up.
Mhm.
What are you gonna do?
Yep. You're
You're gonna
gonna
walk to
draw
the
the
light,
light.
right?
It's like turning
That's
your back
exactly what
towards.
kids.
Yep.
Yep,
Like
that's what
turning.
kids are.
Yep.
So be careful. When you're there, you got to protect everybody when it's associated.
Right.
We had
Right.
somebody. My oldest, um, my youngest actually saw somebody in the house, and she was scared. And then my wife was teaching. They were sitting there doing some homework last year, and she kept looking in the corner. And my wife actually caught it, and she's kind of skeptical about all this stuff.
Mhm.
Okay, but so I said, okay, what do you see? And I'm listening to this. I'm trying to figure it out. So I just confirmed with our psych Cindy, and she goes, yeah, he's harmless. He really shouldn't be there. He was drawn there by your kids because they're beacons.
Mhm.
That's a problem, right? But the bad side is he's missing one half of his face. It was blown away.
Oh, bless his
So
heart.
just imagine, my daughter is 5 years old and she's seeing this,
She's seeing
and
this.
yeah, because she can't. I mean,
Did you
she's
give them the
she's.
power? Did you give them the talk and tell them that they have the power to say that you can't be here?
I always tell them that, but I
Yep.
also give them other things like, just to make them feel better.
Mhm.
We'll take like we used to take some old. I have this it's not an incense spray, but it's kind of like a nice like strong fragrance, and I say this is Monster Spray,
There you
and
go.
wherever I spray it, and I do Febreze too. I'll just
Yeah.
say it's Monster. They didn't know what it was,
Yeah.
but as long as you
Well,
spray
put
the
some
room.
salt in it.
Well,
Just
it's very
subtle.
interesting. Al and I, we've had plenty of clients where you can't burn anything, so you can't sage anybody out, right?
Mhm.
They will not allow any type of incense or burning. So what are you supposed to do? So we came up with, it's called the water of God,
Mhm.
agua di something. I forgot what it is in Italian,
Mhm.
and basically it's frankincense, it's frankincense
Yes.
oil, myrrh oil, holy water,
Great.
um, and it's cedar water, it's kosher salt and black salt.
There you go. There you go.
And let me tell you something. We sprayed it in this one woman's house who said she felt that she was being attacked by some guy down the hall, and it literally noticeable
Yes.
that once he started spraying it,
Mhm.
I just smiled. I started smiling. You could feel
Yeah.
the pressure lift off you. So it does work. So if you can't
This
spray
is
in your house or whatever, use this stuff. It's pretty cool.
yeah. I mean, it's so cool. It's like Ghost Away. It's
Yeah,
well, see,
it's
this is
coastal.
again. It ties into what we were saying earlier. It's something being Native American always uh, really, really vexed my mind. Was I'm sitting there thinking, okay, I'm studying Chinese herbal medicine because I had some stuff I had to go nature on, or else I wasn't going to be here very long. I was
Right.
definitely told you got about 4 months. Go get your stuff straight. You know, I had
Yeah.
been
Well.
bitten by brown recluse spiders. So I keep
Yep.
hearing it, in my head, literally. I know it was my guides or past Native American loved ones that were telling me you have everything you need to save your life in your purse. I was going through this herbal
Right.
cleanse, right? And I did. I had burdock root, I had oil of oregano, I had lavender oil, I had just weird stuff in my purse. So, anyway, it saved my life. So, I started studying Chinese and Hindu and all these
Right.
different Peruvian herbal. And I'm like, hold on a minute. So, for 2,000 years, these people over in this continent have been using this herb pretty much for the same thing that the people in this continent were using this herb for. Where's that
Right.
information come from? Before boats passed back and forth, before Vikings, before, do you know what I'm saying?
Yep.
How in the world? And then I've had people of a certain faith tell me, well, that's voodoo, that's hoodoo,
No.
that's this. Oh, and so what if it is? I mean, they've got some pretty good things in those beliefs. You know what I mean? But
It's yep.
but they're telling me, how can you put burned sage and frankincense and things like that? And I said, hold on a minute. Do you go to a certain ceremony? I don't want to say it because I don't want to give away the thing,
Yeah.
but you go to a certain ceremony. I said, what do you think they're swinging around in those balls that they're coming down the aisle with?
Frankincense and myrrh,
Yep. And they're like, oh. And I'm like,
and they're used.
yeah,
And by the way, I gotta say it. They're using really shitty frankincense and
yeah,
myrrh.
yeah. But see, that's just the thing. When you look at it, you change your view. It changes your
Yep.
perspective on things, and you kind of look at it a little bit different. And that's what I mean about all these things being like connected. So I don't know if this information was downloaded. I don't know if it was, passed along. It doesn't make sense to me how somebody in one continent that didn't how do they have this knowledge? I mean, of
It's
course, each
it's
one had, they might have used it for like five of the same exact things, and then seven other things they found out it was good for. And this one, there's three other things, but still, those basics were there, and it
yeah.
blows my mind.
Long before they came out with Ancient Aliens, I think many people in this field felt that maybe the angels that we were talking about in the Bibles and the scriptures and all these things actually were aliens. Okay, so I definitely believe in higher power and a higher spirit and
Absolutely.
spirits, but who's to say that there wasn't some kind of alien connection through all these different races all
Sure,
over the planet.
sure.
There's way too much similarity in
Yeah,
one spot to another thing.
yep.
And now another thing is this. This is very interesting. The theory I have, and I'm working on this too. I'm working on something that deals with portals. Okay,
Okay.
transportation portals, and you will notice there are certain symbols that are found in every culture and in certain areas. And then
Yes.
when you go to these certain areas, the natives or locals say, "Well, that's a portal."
Mm-hmm.
They'll say it in whatever language they're saying it. It's a portal. It's a gate. It's a stargate. Okay. Imagine if they had enough information, wherewithal, and knowledge. And mind you, they didn't have the technology we have or the energy that we have, like these grids, to be able to transport themselves from, let's say, someplace in Mexico over to the Far East and just appear.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, like the things that you hear in one culture and like, wow, that's so similar to this in the other culture. Who's to say that someone didn't figure out like, holy crap, where the hell am I? Oh, I'm with the Aztecs at this point, and you start talking because they're going to treat you like, who is this? And
Right.
then if you could disappear in front of them, which is plausible if you know what you're doing, um, in theory, you're going to be considered a god at that point.
Yes.
So the transfer of information and knowledge is coming, yeah, long before boats, long before anything. It's coming from Mother Earth. I thoroughly believe that there's the higher powers that are there, the religious end of it, but I also think there's some other life or intelligence outside of this planet that it was guiding them and helping them out and
Okay.
seeing where they would go.
Two things I have for you, my friend, and you may know
Yes.
these already. We were talking about, your vibration and everything else, and everybody, okay,
Hmm.
people like to think that the vibrations, like we were talking about singing Joy to the World and all that stuff, that the good stuff always works, but the bad stuff, nah, and I'm thinking, it works both ways.
Yep.
So if vibration doesn't have anything to do with anything, why are two guys every year sitting on a blanket in Peru with the crystal bowls in
Right.
front of this? I forget exactly what it's called, but it used to be a gate, a gateway. That's what they
It's the
called it.
Stargate. It's called the
Yes,
Stargate. It's
right.
on a mountain. It's on a mountain range, actually a little bit on an angle.
Yes.
Yep.
And they sit there and they say that after time it will reopen, and they're sending us vibration. That is amazing to me. Now, I'm of the ilk to believe that at one time these were a lot easier for us to go through, but
Yep.
I think it got um, abused.
Um, I
Do
think
you see
I
what I'm
think what
saying?
Right. I think there was something that took place, um, an erasing of history, be it by a third or higher power, or we got ourselves out of control.
Yep.
Again, I'm going to say Sodom and Gomorrah, and the big power stepped in and
Yep.
paid. No, you're now pillars of salt. Like whatever.
Right.
This happened globally. There's a lot of destruction there on some major cities, and the only way this really could have happened is through like some third party. Yeah, volcanoes will do certain things, and hurricanes and earthquakes, whatever. But this had other kind of remnants to it. When you mentioned the Peruvian guys sitting there with the crystal balls, we did an investigation, and up here, I don't know if you have, I think you have may have some in northern Jersey, but they have these stone chambers that pockmark through New York State, Connecticut, all the way up into New England. Okay, and they look like root cellars, but they're more than root cellars. The ones that we've investigated up in New York State, there's one there where if you put on infrared or uh, um, yeah, you have to use an infrared camera, night vision camera, you will see runic writing on the wall.
Mm-hmm.
But if you shut it off and just photograph it normally, you won't catch anything.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you go up to where the area is, um, there's nothing there. These are pockmarked near ley lines. They have high magnetic anomalies there. So we went into one of them, and it was in the summer, and it was hot outside. So we're inside, and we're using a FLIR cameras and regular cameras. And Al had to go get something. He forgot a thermometer gauge, the little gun there,
Mm-hmm.
and he goes out. So I have an app that I use. It's called the Tibetan Singing Bowl app. It's free. It's on Apple, but I think they have it also on Android phones, and it has like several different um, Tibetan singing bowls and bells on it,
Okay.
and you and just vibrate and you just crank it up. So each one of these Tibetan singing bowls, if you don't know, they're different frequency. They relate to different chakras, are part of the chakra,
Right.
and they help to heal and center that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there's like the third eye, there's the sexual one, there's the groin, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm filming the doorway, and I have a FLIR camera on my phone, and I'm filming it, and we're just doing some tests, and I'm checking out the temperature. I said I'm gonna try the Tibetan singing bowls, and lo and behold, as I started, this happens to us all the time when we start using singing bowls because there's frequency there, and we're
Yes.
amping up the energy. We start going through the singing bowls, start going through one at a time, and this I want to say it's like a purple mist starts forming around, like it's almost like something's opening up there.
Wow.
It's online. If you go to YouTube and you go to Bronxville Paranormal Society, I don't know exactly the name of the video. I'm gonna go look at it again. But I swear to God, it's as if a portal was opening up. So when you mentioned the guys in Peru,
Mm-hmm.
I just started smiling. I'm like, that's the secret. And I think that's not. It's we've been doing stuff, making music with different types of
Yes.
materials since the beginning
Mm-hmm.
you know so imagine you just hanging out with some friends, and you're just like, "Ooh," you have
Mm-hmm.
the bowl going or whatever,
Yeah.
and then the next thing you know, you start seeing this light appear, and it's opening up a gate
Wow.
in front of you. I mean, that is the coolest freaking thing on the planet.
It is, man. And if you think about it, you know what I mean? Just a frequency sound. I mean, the Buddhists that do that, I mean, it's a calming. I've done it myself. It works with babies.
Yep.
It's all frequency. Now, also, I want to tell you, if you don't know about him, you need to dig into this because he's doing the same stuff you are.
Right.
Barry Fitzgerald.
I was a bit friendly with Barry
Yep.
online. I gotta go connect with him again. I want to
Okay.
get him on there. He's doing a tremendous amount of stuff with Barry, with frequency, and
Yes.
he's probably one of the better researchers out there.
Yes, he is.
Um,
I totally agree. And he's doing a lot, basically, back in his home, Ireland. He's doing a lot
yep,
with the Fae and, water sprites and the whole shebang. but he really is. Now he's focusing a lot on what we're talking about, and he knows of places, and he's also gathering data on this as far as, I don't know how to describe it, where you'll almost see like a dimension, like a water
Yep.
phase, and you can put your hand through it, kind of thing.
Yep.
You see what I'm saying? So I would absolutely, the new book that he's got and the new interviews and things he's got, it's amazing, and
Yep.
he's really upped his game big time. He's gotten
I'm
back into it.
I'm gonna, I wanted to get him on our program for a while, but we had some issues, and he's one of the guys that's on the, the top 10
Yep.
bucket list. Something very interesting, and I'll let little Barrett Fitzgerald thing. So when I started doing this and really working on whatever abilities I have with our psychic, um, I literally was sleeping one night, and I had this dream. I was one of four people in a car, and I know I was there. There was the guy from the radio station that was there. When the first place that we hooked up with, we were driving in New Jersey someplace, and we were driving up a mountain and through these really dense woods, and we got to this one spot with a clearing. There was a house there, and it was dark, and there was some rocks there, and we got out of the truck, and I said, I want to go smoke a cigarette. So I went to smoke a cigarette, and we were waiting. And when after I was smoking a cigarette, I said, where should I put it? And he said, oh, just put it over there by the stairs, because that's where that's where she keeps her thing. And we were there, and we knocked on this door of this cabin, and this woman. Now I couldn't make out her face, but I knew she was blonde, right? And it was like very much an attitude, like, well, it's about time. And I had this like wifey type of feel to her, and she goes, "Do you have my babies?" And we gave her three German shepherds, right? So this is taking place. Now, when this is taking place, I kept checking the woods because I felt like something was there. One of the guys in our group just disappeared into the woods. He just started walking and went away. I mean, in the night. I would never have done it in that location. At other points in time in this entire dream, I literally was transported now into the woods. And I can't say, I didn't see it myself as I was, but I felt I was like a werewolf or something that kind of transforms, and I was watching us that whole interaction that was taking place where it just was. So I was aware that they were there, and I was just watching them. So this woman takes this stuff in, and I didn't feel like there was anything really dangerous there. I just felt that whatever was in the woods watching them was like a werewolf or transforming type of creature.
Hmm.
And I'm saying werewolf, but but it wasn't really aggressive or something like that. So I knew who the person was that was in the group there, and he's the co-owner of the radio station I formerly was with. So I contacted Al and I said, "Look, I had this dream," and I typed it out to him, and I said, "Do you think I should say anything?" Because frankly, I didn't really know this guy from Adam. I met him once, and we've talked a couple times on interviews, but. You come up to somebody and you tell them what your dream is, they'll be like, "Okay, this guy's crazy," you know.
Yeah, it gets out a
Right?
lot.
So, but it was very, very real.
Hmm.
So I go to him and I tell him all those different things. And I said, when I put my cigarette out there, there were white cigarette butts there. And it was a white cigarette and had like a blue band around it. And I remembered it as clear as day. So I told him what was going on. I told him about that dream, what I just told you. And I said, I don't want you to think I'm crazy. I'm just telling you what I saw. You were there and so and so. I said, do you have a wife? Is your wife blonde? So he comes back with the first thing out of his mouth was, wow.
Hmm.
He says, I'd say you're 98% accurate. And starts drilling through this whole thing. So he goes, I don't really live in a cabin in the woods, but I live around the woods. Okay. The person you saw there is kind of like my wife, and she does have blonde hair, but it's my business partner. Her name is blank. I'm not going to mention their names on the show. Um, and I said, and she does smoke. Also, he said that like that creature you saw there, this werewolf, whatever it is, do you feel that it was hostile or aggressive? He goes, and I said to him, I said, no, they're just aware that they know that you know that they're there, and they know that you're there. Everybody's aware of each other,
Hmm.
but I don't see anything aggressive going on. He goes, because it's interesting, because I'm right now writing a book. I'm going through dealing and writing a book and working on something with Barry Fitzgerald about creatures that transform. Okay, and then he goes to so I'm like, okay, cool. This is my Barry Fitzgerald lead into that. But the funny thing was, I said, well, do you know what kind of cigarettes that she smokes? I don't know. I'll find out. But also, she has three German shepherds.
Hmm.
There were three German shepherds we were delivering to her. I didn't know any of this about her.
Wow.
Comes back to me the next day. He goes, by the way, she does smoke cigarettes, and they're a white cigarette with a little blue band around it.
Wow.
So this is what I'm saying. It's like I say, this is part of, a lot of the gifts that people have, and a lot of these dreams that a lot of people don't. I don't have any gifts, but you have these vivid dreams.
Hmm.
This is where your dreams and your abilities, like it's their playground.
Yeah.
You have to pay attention to your dreams. But I was just found it very, very interesting. You mentioned Barry Fitzgerald, and I actually, I haven't. I've talked to Barry briefly about something that he came out with some computer program recently, but I want to get him on the program. I want to actually
I do
talk to him.
too. I do too. I haven't tried yet, but I kind of like when I get certain people, I go, not yet, not yet. Okay, now. Just
Yeah,
like I did with you, which is weird. And it seems to work. I mean, I never thought I'd get Richard Sennett on. I just
you
kind
just
of,
got to ask.
yeah, you
You know what?
do. You do. I'm actually interviewing him Sunday. I can't wait. I mean, I watched
There
him
you go.
cross legged sitting on the floor in sightings, for Pete's sake. One of the best EVP. Well, it's not really EVP. What do you do when you get sound phenomena? It's not called EVP. What is it? Oh, I forget what it's
Um,
called.
uh,
Oh,
oh, well, there's EVP's electric voice phenomena,
right.
but there is some sound phenomena that I mean we like one of the things we get a lot is we get drumming, Native American drums.
Yeah. Oh, God bless him. Yeah. So many.
It's really
But
weird.
don't you find, and I bet you do, that when you get anything Native American, they're not stuck. Their
No.
visitation, their visitation checking on things, or do you know what I'm saying? Even if
Yes.
it's a graveyard thing, it's more like they're there and they're pissed about it. Yeah, but it's not. It's just a different spiritual thing. I think they were more spiritually hip, if you get my drift.
They're totally spiritually hip, and they're more of watchers than they are of
Yes.
actually.
Yep.
Our psychic, when we did our investigation in Nuclear Lake, she said you're going to be surrounded by these. They're called guardians, and they're made up of Native Americans, really tall creatures, woodland creatures, elms, gnomes, and whatever.
Hmm.
And there are Native Americans there. That's their job. Their job is keepers,
Hmm.
and some of them are the warrior type. Like
Yes.
when you look at a tribe, you have the elder,
Hmm.
and then you have the chief, and then you have the spirit end of it, and
Hmm.
then you have the warrior side of it, because everybody had a
Yes.
personality. I mean,
Yes.
the strongest guy in the place, he's going to lead the raid or
Right.
whatever it is. So these guys, their task is in the spirit realm is to be warriors. They're scouts, and there's warriors,
Hmm.
and the warriors will piss you. You do something stupid, they're going to come right at you.
Well, they also know
But
your
then,
intent before you ever get there.
oh yeah, they know
Yeah.
what's going on,
Yeah.
and they also keep you in check
Hmm.
because they just did an investigation recently back up at our hotspot, and I kind of felt going in there that nothing really was going to happen. I did see them. I did see that they were being watched by, I'm going to say Sasquatch or whatever, Bigfoot,
Hmm.
there, but they were keeping their distance. But I said it's going to be a very quiet night, and then I also told them, I said, I don't know who it is in the group, but one of them, all of them actually don't like this guy.
Hmm.
So there's bad vibes there. Not that he's a bad person, but it may be the intention.
Hmm. There's something up.
So yeah.
Yeah.
So and one of them was kind of like ultra aggressive and whatever. But yeah, I think that they are spirit people, and they're there for a reason.
Hmm.
You know.
Hmm. Well, there's a lot. Well, there's so much going on, but there's just like so much disrespect just of the earth itself and animals, and I'm one of those people who, well, we won't get into it, but
Well,
so I'll knock you
well,
down to feed a hungry squirrel. You know what I'm saying? I feed more animals, but it's just like it's just they got a bad deal. Um, and I just want them to stay around. And plus, they give me so much high vibration. I could go sit in my backyard and just watch cardinals in the tree, and I'm like, I'm better. You know, I
yep.
have to have that connection. I have to have that
Yeah,
connection.
because it grounds you.
Yeah.
It keeps you grounded in the real world. I mean, I know I was listening to some of your interviews, and I think it was Arizona. You guys were talking about one of those spider. Someone was dealing with spiders or whatever, or
That was
has the
me.
ability of spiders.
Yeah.
And
Tenacity. Hmm.
yeah,
Spider
well,
medicine.
right.
Tenacity.
I I normally in grow, as you educate yourself in this whole entire paranormal field, and you start opening up to other possibilities and plausibilities, and you got to test it.
Hmm.
Don't just take anybody's word blind for it. I think you
Hmm.
really have to
For
experience it and say,
sure.
okay, no, I like this. I'm more comfortable here.
Right.
But eventually, you start expanding your knowledge base and your information. I very much don't want to kill anything. I
Right.
never have really. There's a
Yeah.
couple of people maybe, but
Yeah.
in general, and I'm not a big deer fan because of the tick aspect of it.
Yeah.
Whatever, but I will admit there are times when you get me in a certain spot, like if you have spiders in certain parts of the house, and I know you're going to get mad at me. I try to get them out,
Uh-huh.
but if it looks like something buku poisonous,
Yeah.
uh-uh,
Well,
uh-uh.
brown recluse, one bite will kill you. I had five in one night, but it was a
Wow.
test. I could have laid there, and keep in mind, I did this without pain medication. I did it without any kind of tranquilizers, any kind of topical pain medic. I did it all natural, and I mean that stuff. One bite, it just eats your tissue.
Yep,
You know,
it's
it's the
a
most. Oh,
vicious spider.
and it changes your DNA forever. I mean, I had
And
straight hair, my hair went curly. I mean, everything
right.
changed. Everything
I,
changed.
and this is where I'm trying to explain to people it's like, yeah, maybe you shouldn't kill it, but you know what?
Yeah.
I have to my priorities are my
Yeah,
offspring,
yeah.
and
And
you
they
know,
are
and I have
spreading
to do what and I
and
have
they're
to do what I have
morphing.
to do.
It's
Yeah, they are.
yeah,
And
yeah.
I mean, I saw something pretty close to it recently. It was very, very odd. Um I got rid of it.
Yeah.
And I had to
Well, they're
because
smaller than a quarter unless they've changed and morphed because I did so much studying on them, but like I said there's nothing Western medicine, God bless them, because they put my son back together. I've seen some miracles. I mean, I'm not saying anything against
right.
Western medicine. Believe me, nurses and doctors, and God bless, they don't get enough. The techs, oh,
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
bless them all. But it seemed like they were packing the wound because that's what you do to drain a wound. Not to be gross, but
Yeah, you
hey,
do. You want to pack it to
right. Well,
give it
see,
another area to attach
but
to
it
so you can pull it
pushes
out.
the venom back down. And I'm dealing with these things. Both of my sons got bit at different times, and I'm doing it myself. And I actually had a doctor after all of mine.
Right?
After he got to meet Siska, I'll never forget. His name was Doctor Gunn. I knew it was a sign. I was like, "You're my
Yep.
doc." I went through one, two, three, four. I went through 11 doctors till I found this guy, and I said, "Look, this is what I'm doing. I just need. You have better, telescopes than microscopes than I do. I need.
Right.
This is what I'm doing. Just guide me through it." I had to keep signing AMAs. I really did.
Right.
But anyway, long story short, I'm putting all the herbs and stuff, and I've got activated charcoal, and I've got a little oregano, and I've got this, and it's all lined up on that table you're supposed to be laying on when they come in. And he
Right.
looks at me and he's going, "You're holding that back with this?" And he starts reading the bottles, and I'm like, "I got the right one." He's telling me about this, tell me about this, tell me about. His little country doctor. Now the
Yep.
thing was, after he saw how I stopped the necrosis and everything, and got through it, the pain was it intensifies your nerves just for an added bonus. So the
Oh
pain is
yeah.
like outrageous, and I'm biting through. The wooden spoons that you stir with, the old wooden spoons your mom used to whack you with.
Oh yeah.
I would bite through those, just trying to
Wow.
deal with this pain and trying to keep everything in control. Yeah, it was intense, but you have to ride it through. It's kind of like a Billy Jack thing. So
Yeah.
it really is. So you go through, and then my son got bit, and he didn't tell anybody, and it just kept going deeper and deeper and deeper. Got a really fatty part,
Yeah.
and I took him straight there, and finally, let him do his thing, and he gave him back to me, and then I did my thing, and I brought him back for the 24-hour check, and he just looks at it, and he looks at me, and he looks back at him, and he says, "I've never said this to another patient, but I'm just going to give you back to your mother because whatever she's doing is better than
It's
what you're
working.
doing."
Yeah. I think I remember hearing the on that show with Arizona or whatever you were mentioning about this, and there was
It's
somebody in the
amazing.
hospital, a young kid,
Yes.
and the nurse was like, "Well, what are you using?" And you wrote it down, and
Yep.
basically you basically saved this kid's life
Well, I think
for the most part.
Spirit, I have to say, I think Spirit did because the way that was set up, it's an amazing thing to see because I was a floral designer. I was doing weddings and I was working in a wedding plantation, and one of the brides came in. Well, I wasn't doing her wedding. She came
Right.
in to do a down payment, had the envelope, and I said, I can't take that. I'm not touching that money. You have to go see the boss,
Right.
you know? And she looked at my hands, and I had them all wrapped with bandages and bandanas. I'm still working. Screw this. I got to make money.
Right.
I got kids to feed. And
Right.
we got to talking, and she goes, "Did you sprain your finger or something?" I said, "No, I brown recluse bite." And she said, "Can I see it?" Because she starts talking to
Yeah.
me, and she happened to be the head nurse in the oh, what do you call it? Toxic something, like snake bite
Yeah. Like
place.
venomous or
Yeah,
something like that. Venomous
yeah,
bites or.
yeah, toxic venom department in this hospital that was not far from where we were. And then she told me, she says, I need to know what you're doing because we have a little boy and he's going to have his leg amputated in the next 24 to 48 hours. We can't
Yep.
stop the necrosis. And that's when I looked at her and I said, what do we do? Because she's going to lose her job if she tries this native stuff. And I wrote down my number and I said, give this to the parents. And I said, no, give it to the mother.
Yep.
And that little boy will ride a bike and he will walk to the prom and play baseball and all the other things he wants to do because he has his leg. Because his mom was brave enough to say, okay,
You
we're
got
trying
nothing to
this.
lose.
We are trying this. Because it was like, if it gets in the fatty, you have to treat it like a wildfire and keep cutting until you
Right.
stop it. And it was something. But yeah,
Well,
so, and
it,
that had
but
nothing to do with
yeah.
me other than I was like a telephone has something to do with a phone call. You know what I mean?
No. And then, like when you said spirit, it's like you're in the right place at
Yep,
the right time
that was
because of
set
a
up.
reason.
That was set up.
You know.
And I see it
Yeah.
so many times in this. I really do. It's
Oh,
beautiful to watch it from far. It's really cool.
sometimes it's really great when you watch and you take place, and then it takes place and you can see it and you're like, wow, that was great.
Hmm.
It's really frustrating when you're a part of the program.
Hmm.
Sometimes you're like, oh shit, I don't want
Yes.
to go through this right now.
Yeah, and
But
I see that too,
like,
my friend. And you're doing that right now, but you're gonna because you're fighting. If you let it go, you can't listen. You cannot control how other people act. You can only control how you react to it. Be
oh, I know, I'm doing my best as that I can at this
I
point.
know.
And,
Yeah, I
you know,
know. It's very hard. I know. And
it's
everybody listening to this right now, whether it's 10 people or 1,000 or more. I mean, there's people in China listening to me, and I still can't wrap my head around that. I mean, there's
isn't that cool?
six people in China are listening to, and I'm like, God bless you, thank you so much.
We've got about 12 people in Japan that like us.
I
And
don't, it blows my mind, and I'm thankful for every single listener, and I think everybody listens to it for a
yeah.
different reason. Um, and but we might say something, maybe not now, but 5 years from now, if it's because it's going to be out there, that are going
Oh
to
yeah.
hear it and hear exactly what they need to hear at that time. And that's what we all need to be open to because there are signs, there are things that come through. There's tiny little miracles happen all day, you know,
Every day.
and we just don't see them. We overlook them or we blow through them. I
Yep.
mean, I've had people have in your face stuff happen. A friend of mine called real quick.
Right.
She was talking to her sister about her father's death. He had passed early, a couple months before this, and she was saying, "Oh, I just wish I could know that Dad's okay." And she's, saying stuff like that to her sister. Well, she gets off the phone, she grabs her keys, she gets her purse, and she goes to leave. And there is a cardinal, beautiful red male cardinal, sitting on her side view mirror of her car as she's
Nice.
walking towards it, and it's not moving, and she stops and she just stares at it and it lingers.
Right.
And her dad loved cardinals, favorite bird. And she thought about it. She went to work. She called me that night. She goes, Cisco, do you think? And I said, honey, I said, what was your first thought when you saw the cardinal? What did you feel go through you at the time? What was your intuition? She said, I thought my dad had sent that bird to tell me he was okay. I said, then why are you talking yourself out of it?
Exactly. But that's the whole thing of, being part of, there's some people that are not in their right mind. They're not rational
Hmm.
and they're not in the right mind. It makes it difficult sometimes
Hmm.
because you don't sometimes you just don't want to believe it. That's why like when I do what I do I always second guess myself
Mhm.
because being a person that uses more than one side of their brain, I've always been an artsy kind of person,
Mhm.
and a logical person and a quantitative person.
Mhm.
So I'm using different parts of my brain. I like sci-fi, I like art, I like this. We have a more of imagination. So sometimes you think like, did I just imagine that, or did I make it up in my head to make
Mhm.
play it out, or was it really playing out?
Mhm. Mhm.
And I think that's the
And
difference
honestly,
between
too, man,
people.
what's it going to hurt? That's what I'm saying about sitting on the fence. Are
Yep.
you going to hurt anybody if you believe that, you were thinking about that person and that song came on the radio that just happened to be their favorite song that hasn't been on a radio in like 20 years? You know,
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, why do you have to let it just take it in, accept it?
Yeah,
Because what are you hurting? You've thought of them. Quite possibly they're thinking of you as well. Think some happy thoughts about them. I mean, I'm no stranger to grief, but I
right.
found out that it's so much easier on me and probably so much easier on them if, I think of happy thoughts and send them a good energy. I mean, I have this experiment with my dad. I know it sounds so funny, but I think you'll understand this. Um, we all, let's just accept the fact that I think that when you pass, you're going to go through some kind of a thing, whether it's a soul um,
Like a soul review,
mending, like a mending,
right?
like a mending. And I think we kind of judge ourselves. I don't quite get into that whole hell thing. I think we create that ourselves. It's just me. I'm not pushing this
Right.
on nobody.
Right.
Um, but I just think that that was just, I think there's some truth to it because we can create our own God. We can create our own hell here. But I just
Yes,
think
we
that we
can.
kind of judge ourselves and we watch our whole life pattern. I could have done that better. Oh my gosh, I didn't realize when I did that it affected her and then him and then oh my gosh,
Yep.
like pebbles in the thing. And
Yep.
maybe think of how we could have done it better because once we get there, at some point in time, I think we get all the memories back from all the other times we lived. I
Yeah,
just
it's kind of like
I just
filling in
kind
the
of feel
blanks.
that. Yeah, yeah, I kind of feel that. So, i- uh, if that's true, and there is that mending, then certain people that did things here, they're going to have a harder or longer time healing or mending or dealing with those things. So maybe it's a different level. Maybe you just go to a different level. You're not rising up to what, ascending up to what this higher vibration of or whatever it is, right? So if that's true, then my dad is somewhere oh shitville. So like
I thought you were gonna say he's between electronics
yeah,
and like the women's wear.
well,
Um,
he wasn't, it's like this. You look at people in life, and women think that they can, oh, I'm strong enough to take that one on. He's such a good guy. He's got something in there that I can just save. I can tell. I can change him.
uh,
No, you can't. People are going to
yep.
be who they're going to be. And, you can't take a rock and hope that he turns into a tree. My dad
Yep.
was a great rock, man. I mean, he did it his way. He was his way. I mean, not saying anything against him. I have lots of people in my family that are madder than I'll get out. And I'm like, did you realize that that hurts you? Why would
Right.
I be mad at him? He was what he was. I mean, I wish, but that and a cup of
Well,
So
yeah.
I have this experiment. And a couple of years ago, I decided, since I was around these mediums who could kind of help me with this, because I'll go and sit in
Right.
front of them and go, okay, what do you got for me? Because I don't even ask to speak. I just, what do I need to know right now? I'm
Right.
at that point. So, and my mom always comes through because she's fantastic and she's just full of life and wonderment, and I just love her. But I said, if you can, I'd love to see if my dad's cool, you know? Okay, she says, and this is a wonderful medium. And she says, okay, wait a minute. Well, your mom's here. I recognize her energy. And I said, hey, mom, how you
Right.
doing? She says, well, she's bringing somebody in. She's got him by the collar. And I'm like, that's him.
That's that.
She's got to
Yeah.
go get him.
Exactly.
She's got to go get him. And I'm like, okay. But he couldn't lift his head. It was kind of like she's saying that he's coming in with his head down. I'm like, is he for what reason? She says like he doesn't seem to have a lot of energy. Like he can't lift his head up. I'm like, okay. So I said a few things and I said, well, I'm going to do this. So I went home and I started I always send happy thoughts and energy to my past loved ones and tell them a joke. Like, remember that time we got ice cream and it fell? And oh, wasn't it wonderful? And we laughed. It's wonderful. It's
Right.
happy thoughts and energy. So I started doing that for my dad. And I'm like,
Right.
well, I don't have a lot of memories with you, but I'm going to send you happy thoughts and white light and energy to you because I'm the only one that's going to. And I love you for who you were. Thanks for picking good women. There you go. Because
Yeah.
I wouldn't be here without you. And I started doing that. Well, I went about a year later and I talked to somebody else that came in to give me some information. And I said, before you're done, can you get my dad? Well, now he's coming to me and he's in his army uniform. It's World War II. And he's
Right.
got his head up, but he still can't speak. And she says, well, wait a minute. I'm getting a little bit of telepathic. And she says, I said, tell him to tell me something that I would know it's him. And she
Right.
said, he said, I would not have been a good role model for your sons. I said, that's him.
Yep.
A year later, now he can pick up his head, now he can talk, and he came forward and I said, ask him if this is helping. He says, yes, keep sending it. So
Yep.
how is that hurting me?
It doesn't hurt you. It actually helps you. I mean, it's a way of healing.
There you go.
Um, it's a big way of healing. Many people they deal with it and then they take care of it and they do. That's a good thing. Um,
But
I have a
isn't that
rel.
neat? Isn't that neat? But
It's
why
it's
can't we do
it's
that for the living as well? We get so caught up. I do it too. We
because
get
you know
so
what, the
caught
living
up.
talk back.
I know, honey. I
The
know,
living
but
talk back way too much, and everybody's their own
walk
person.
away from the
One,
toxic. You can't change them. Walk away from the toxic. You know.
yeah, it's like for what my mother did to this entire family,
Mhm.
and how she turned to two other supposed to be family members, brothers. Um, it's destroyed an entire family, destroyed a man, it destroyed a young child.
Mhm.
There's I don't forgive.
Uh huh.
The Russians don't forgive. I will not forgive.
I
We don't forgive.
understand.
We're not working on that. This is your cross to bear.
Uh huh.
I remember my my last words, and my older brother was listening in the conversation for whatever his purpose was for this. My mother's on her deathbed for the most part, and my two brothers brought their kids there, which I never brought my kids there. I'm like, I would never put them through that. It was horrifying.
Mm.
Um, and I and this is where I knew it all registered. Now I've saved my mother's life, really saved my mother's life, 4 or 5 times. CPR, getting her to hospital, whatever it is, right? So we didn't have the greatest relationship, but I did what I was supposed to do, honor thy mother and father. My last words to this person I said, it didn't have to be this way
Mhm.
because you've gotten opportunities. Her father came to me in a dream. He was my grandfather. I loved him to death. When I was 16, he died. Literally came to my dream. And I told him, I said, Grandpa, you're dead. He goes, I know, honey. I'm worried about your mom.
Mm.
And started worrying just before she had a massive, night sized heart attack. So I told her this after that we were trying to get her to, really do something about herself. But I told her that it didn't have to be this way. And she turned away from me. And I just knew it. It was intuitive. Like she knows it. She knows she effed up and she's embarrassed to admit to it because that's that pride that we have as live human beings, right?
Mhm.
When you're dead or you're moved to the other plane,
Yeah.
everything registers. You know all the
Yes.
stupid things you've done.
Mhm.
You know who you hurt, who you killed, who you maimed,
Mhm.
who you did goodbye, whatever. And I think part of it with your dad putting his head down, he knew where he made his mistakes,
Mhm.
and he needed by you doing what you're doing was technically a forgiveness thing,
Mhm.
and that transferred the energy back to him that where he could recuperate and become that person that he really was.
Isn't that
Um,
amazing, though?
yeah, it's super amazing. It's great that some people get to heal.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah.
in my case, after my mother passed away, I was in my apartment and I heard her voice, and it's kind of like, when you knew you messed up or you did something wrong and you have to go talk to your parents. You're like, Mom, very unsure. Well, I had a hello, and I'm like, and I said, you know what? You better fix all the problems you caused until you do get up. F out of this house.
Mm.
It's my burden. It's on you. And they have the ability to fix it.
Mhm. Mhm. A lot of
Which,
them do. See, that's what a lot of ghosts do, and people don't understand that.
yep,
It's a lot of forgiveness stuff. It's like, I don't want to go through this till you forgive me. Please let it go.
yep.
That kind of thing. And I just, you know,
People need forgiveness. Now, I don't know why. I don't know what the reason for the forgiveness is. I don't know if it's mandatory, like whoever's up there in heaven, well, you got to get them to forgive you.
or do something to help fix it, or to show them why you went through that. Because, like I said about my sons earlier, you know, there,
Yep,
we already forgave each other for this. If you've picked me to go through this with you, and I picked you, whatever, however that works, if that is a
right,
thing, then we've already promised on the other side, when we knew better, that we were going to forgive each other for this, because you had to go through this to learn whatever. You know,
right,
if that's really it, that makes sense to me. That, school, whatever you want to call it. But it also
right.
makes sense to me because it's also very Native American. Because I'll tell you something, when I was going through a lot of stuff, because I was doing all the herbal things and everything, and I
Right.
wanted to help other people, but you have to be so careful because there's so much stuff going on. And one of the elders told me, you went through all of the spider stuff, you went through all that suffering, and everything else, to come out the other side so you could help other people. And I kind of said, well, that was a lot to go through for this,
Yeah, seriously.
And he
Yeah.
said, well, if you want to heal, there's so many ways to heal. But if you are a doctor and you want to heal a broken leg, isn't it better to have had a broken leg before you try to heal someone else? Perfect sense. So
Yep.
this is all very Native American ways of thinking as well. And I believe Hindu, Buddhist, and a couple of other you can throw in there. Very, very. You got to go through it to understand what it feels like. You've got to go through
Oh yeah.
the alcoholic father to understand what it's like. Maybe next time you come around, you'll be the alcoholic jerk. Who knows?
Yep.
I don't know how finite it might be, but be able to forgive, so you can know how, and then be the one who needs forgiving, or any of these things. And if you bring in all of those emotions, and now I've heard something else from other people, and I think it's very intriguing, that on other planets
Right.
with aliens, whatever you want to call them, because I believe there's so many other, you know what
Right.
I mean? There's so many kinds.
It's
It's not just
different
one
races.
kind. It's not one kind. So there are emotions that they experience that we don't even have here.
Yep.
Wow. Think about that.
Well,
So it's elevated, or they never said which way. It might be lower. I doubt it, because I think this is one of the crappiest places you can reincarnate to. And
seriously.
one time I had a medium, a psychic medium, tell me, and she was really good. She was all over the place, with her abilities. And she told me, um, how did she put it? She said that, oh man, it just totally blew my, it's gone. It's gone. It just went like a fleeting fish under the sea. It's gone. But
Yep.
she basically was telling me that this, when you choose to come, okay, here it is. When you choose to come back to reincarnate to this planet, you're automatically a hero there, because this is one of the hardest planets to reincarnate to, because there is so, we still kill people here. We still suffer. People
Yeah.
hurt each other. And it's a hard place to have a life. So if you already know that going in, then you kind of got to
Yep.
back up and say, okay, well, I can just try to be the best me I can be in this situation, or change it. You know,
I hope they have a ticket tape parade for me. I'll tell you that.
they just very well might. But it also might be that you're just going through a lot of stuff all at once to strengthen whatever it is you came here to strengthen. You know?
Yeah, it's really funny when you getting into the alien side, and that's whatever races are out there. One of the big things, and a lot of stuff that's come out through select individuals that I've interviewed and I've talked to, I've become very friendly with. Um, they know a lot about different races, and in general, 99.999% of them are don't have the emotions that we have.
Correct.
and what you were mentioning before, and they don't make emotional decisions.
Correct.
One plus one is two. That is it. There's no
That's it.
emotion involved in it.
I'm right there
And he
with you.
says, and they said that part of the problem with humans is everything we do becomes an emotional
Emotion.
decision.
Yep.
And people don't realize it. It's like when the tsunami hit Indonesia years ago and 150,000 people were killed. And it was, you're hanging out someplace, you're seeing this, and people are amazed, like, oh my God, oh my God, where's God? How come, God let this happen? And I said, what do you mean? I mean, you're putting too much emotion to it.
Hmm.
Maybe God needed this to happen. Maybe God is the
Maybe
one that
they all
actually
chose it
made it
to.
happen.
Maybe that was all
And
their exit point
right,
for whatever
maybe
reason. Hmm.
maybe God needs 150,000 souls for something that you don't know about right
We
now.
don't have the cover to the box, man. We
Right,
we each only have like one little piece, and we keep trying to jam it into places we think, it goes, and to try to make that snap and get a little piece of the picture. And a lot of times, if you just let go and stand back, you can kind of see, okay, it goes here. Wow. But if you had to back away from that puzzle to see the
right,
big picture, you can't back up far enough, because you've
right.
got all of time that ever exists and all of time that ever will, whatever time is, all the way. And then you got to do it on every universe that could ever be possible, in every dimension, in every parallel. What? So
Yep,
how are you going to understand? All you can do is manage your piece the best you possibly can, and try to figure, because, and like I said, we've had a lot go on. We all have. You, I, both,
yep,
just about everybody I know seems. And you never know. Tomorrow is promised to no one. You know,
right.
and nobody expects to leave their friends and have a couple of laughs and get on a motorcycle and be
Yep.
dead a mile away
Yep.
instantly.
No one,
Nobody.
you don't plan, subconsciously we may know this was happening, but in general, most of the time we're not subconscious. We're conscious of
We're
things that,
conscious.
and we're aware. But part of this whole thing, what we were just talking about is, and it comes full circle to where we started for the most part, is like in this life, people are unaware. When the emotional attachment on everything that's going on currently in this world,
Hmm.
especially in this country, it's all emotion, 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 right?
Hmm.
Um, but what they don't realize is, and it's going to sound very cold coming out of my mouth, and I don't mean it that way, but it's the truth. And you being formerly military,
Hmm.
understand this. Sometimes you have to kill 100,000 people to save 100 million people,
Hmm. Yeah, it's
and
yeah.
it's a tough decision to make.
Hmm. Hmm.
And when you get emotionally involved in things, you don't make the right decision 9 out of 10 times.
It's true. And if there is an all-knowing source, and I do believe there is,
Yes,
and
I'm
they
with
know
you.
all the pictures, maybe those souls had to go to another planet and reincarnate there, or for whatever reason.
Yep.
We'll never know because we're not all knowing. And to
And
and to pretend that we're all knowing is just detrimental to self, because you're going to make yourself crazy, if you just chill. And I, like I said, I lose it all the time. I can't find my keys. Get out of my way. If I got
yep,
to get somewhere, everybody has erratic moments. Everybody, um, goes off road rage or whatever, gets mad. The guy gets cut him off, or
yep,
and you try to chill and you try to keep your vibration high, and lo and behold, some jerk's going to come by and try to screw that up for you. And it just takes practice, and you just kind of think, does this matter right now? Does this really really matter right now? Like that old comic said, does this need to be said right now?
right,
Does it need to be said at all? um that kind of thing, man, if you can, because I do believe that that's a way a lot of aliens, um well, a lot of aliens, well, coming here to abduct people to be with, and then they
right,
actually abduct the people to bring them back to help with the babies. We know this is, we've heard this happen. This is nothing, whether it is
right,
or not, I can't certainly prove it, but I can't disprove it either. So if they're coming there and they're watching them care for these children, because they don't have that emotion, they don't have that, and they're looking
right,
like they're really thinking about it. What are they doing here? Even to the point of sex,
right,
because there's been multiple cases of that where people are getting together and they just want to observe that because they're not doing it with any kind of feeling. They're kind of looking at you like you got three heads. What's going on
Right.
here? Even to the
It's
point of some of these aliens not even eating uh, food. Food is an enjoyment for us. Gosh, that's all we're about is food and entertainment.
oh
You
yeah,
know. But now
hell
they
yeah.
just have their mouths are even smaller because they're probably popping like a pill of sustenance, whatever it is, or whatever it is that
Well,
their body needs.
it's yeah, it's
It's
really funny
broken
because
down.
one of the guys that I interviewed, basically a lot of the Greys, and this is from him, not me,
Hmm.
um, but I'm finding it to be more and more true as you do more research. They don't ingest food like we do, so they like the biological stuff like the bloods and whatever because it has the most nutrition and the organs as well. And the way they ingest and the way they eat or consume is they actually rub it on their skin, so it goes
It
into their
absorbs.
pores.
It
Okay,
absorbs.
so what you're talking, when you're talking about this, you're talking about something like it is such it's like a computer. A computer doesn't have emotions attached to it.
Hmm.
You could try to program emotions to it, but it's not true emotions. It's literally again 1 plus 1 is 2,
Hmm.
but they don't realize that 1 plus 1 can actually make 3
Hmm.
because that's when a man and a woman get together
Right.
and whatever. So they're in awe of this, and I think part of it is like they're trying to comprehend or figure out emotion. Like what
Hmm.
is emotion? What is a joke?
Yeah.
They did a great episode with what is it, Star Trek, where they try to teach Data, the android,
Yes.
about jokes. And eventually, he was programmed. Well, I guess according to the show, whatever.
Uh huh.
He eventually gets it, but he gets it on. He's getting the joke, and he understands how it's crafted and whatever. And he does have a little humor there, but it still will always be very clinical and cold.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. A little like Spock in some ways too, because he had a little bit of
Yeah,
both. And I get that, man. I get that. And if you hear about a lot of these abductions too, I just had one the other day. Oh, my son told me to ask you a question. It just popped
sure.
up into my head. Um,
Oh,
yeah, because it has something to do with this case. He was carried out. The gentleman that I interviewed, he was
right,
carried out by four. One stood, and they were very much like a gray, but different. And their skin was different. It was very
right.
much taunt. You could see the rib cage. You could see the like almost like chicken muscles kind of thing, but
Yep.
very methodical. No emotion. They were there to do a job, and that was it. In and out. But they picked him up, each one a leg, an arm, and one stood there and kind of like directed telepathically, kind of. He
So
gets
so
carried
we
out.
now yeah, we now know that the Greys are union. Go ahead. Go ahead.
One had a clipboard and a pen.
One had a clipboard and four
Yeah,
guys are doing the
yeah.
work. Go
And
ahead.
that's so funny, though, right? And they carried him out through the wall.
Yes.
And he sees as he goes through the wall like wires and like real quick, but he sees like wires in the inside of the wall. And then he
Yep.
all of a sudden he sees outside, he's outside and he's cold. Now, the word my son used, because he's been looking up on something. Oh gosh, let me find it. I wrote it down. I wrote it down. Um, particle. Oh shoot, what did he call it? Like they can
Accelerator.
change. Yeah, they can change the molecular structure of
Yes, they can.
things and move them through stuff like that. Because I've heard them also being able to be lift through the ceiling and come out through the top of the roof and see the other
Yep.
rooms that they go through, like the upstairs and stuff. And he's also reading something on how they can also do that to change, like to hide a ship, like camouflage a ship. They just change them. That's amazing, right?
Okay. Yep. It's very very amazing, and someone who I've become very friendly with. He's a great person, great guy, and I'm gonna give you a recommendation, and I'll send you this actually private message. His name is Derek Tyler. You
Okay.
should if he just has another book out called The Paradigm Shift, in his series. But I highly recommend you go out and it's on Amazon and have your son read the book Alien Contact: The Difficult Truth.
Okay. It's called
And
phasing. Phasing through objects. Phasing is what he said.
yep,
Molecular. Yeah.
basically what's happening is, and they have ability there, and I cannot they have the ability to. It's kind of like a transporter, and I'm using Star Trek terms, but that's
Okay.
exactly what they're doing. They'll be able to take your molecular structure and change it so that you could slip through anything.
Wow.
And this is something that anybody technically can do.
Right.
So it doesn't matter how many locks you put up there and how many pit bulls and whatever, that person can come through.
Hmm.
And here's the scary part, right? So the U.S. military
Hmm.
have their own Greys. Greys are basically clones,
Hmm.
and they're worker bees.
Hmm.
And they are the clones. They're the ones that do the work, and the different classifications, Greys and different abilities, whatever. It's like a military,
Right.
and they have the ability to um, alter that material, you included, and transfer. And when you are literally walking through a wall,
It's amazing,
and
isn't it?
you'll see the piping, you'll see
Yes.
the
Yes.
lattice board, you'll see
Hmm.
screws, you'll see it's going right through it.
Hmm. Hmm.
But this book, let me tell you, when we interviewed him, he sent, like he sent us a copy, like a couple of chapters in it, but he sent me a copy, and he goes, I specifically asked you to read X, Y, and Z chapter.
Okay.
I've been studying this stuff for decades now,
Uh
right?
huh.
And I'm pretty, I don't really get scared of too many things.
Uh huh.
Um, Holy crap.
Right. 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 Well, see, that's
Oh my God. And
yeah.
he has this whole thing where he's talking about being abducted, whatever. And there's basically the military surrounding him and his house, and a military person came through his wall, unlocked the door and let the people in.
There it is. That's crazy.
So
That's just
yeah,
wow.
read this book. It's a
Yeah.
great book. And the second book is gonna. I haven't gotten to it yet. It's gonna be out of this
What do
off the
you think of
charts.
Camelio? Robert
Camilio.
Guffey. Robert Guffey.
Um,
Have you read it?
no, I
Write
haven't
it
read
down.
it.
Write it down.
I'm writing a lot of stuff
I
down.
know. I'm just saying that was amazing. And I'll tell you what, you could do the fast track on that. And I will
Yeah,
recommend this because you like to listen to audio. Look up Where Did the Road Go? It's Zariah Askath is the host. He's a friend of mine. And he
right.
did one of the best interviews of Robert Guffey on Camelio. And just listen to that interview. And then you can decide if you want to dig into the book or not. But it's amazing. It's basically on a lot what we're talking about now. It's
Right.
about military, and we all know that there's a lot more that we don't know that they have. Why would we?
Oh yeah.
And targeted individuals and working with the aliens as well. So read that; it's quite amazing. It has an awful lot in there about invisibility and cloaking, and what you were talking about now too. Wow! It's a great
Yeah.
interview. It's a great interview.
Um,
You'll dig it.
another, I'll definitely check that out. Another good book, just for anybody who wants to read, because people are readers, is Witnessed.
Okay.
The true story of the Brooklyn Bridge UFO abductions, Bud Hopkins.
Okay.
I actually we did our live UFO roundtable, New York City UFO project, a meeting a couple months ago when we first started this up. And one of the guys was chiming in through, got into the group through Facebook. I wasn't friends with him or anything. I don't know how he even got there. And he was asking us to ask questions about X, Y, and Z.
Hmm.
And apparently, this guy, and I'm trying to get in contact with him again, but he's disappeared.
Hmm.
Um, he may have been one of the persons that was working security for the UN and the Secretary General. This is about basically the book is about a woman that is repeatedly abducted in New York City, in Brooklyn, and an abduction takes place in front of the Secretary General of the United Nations and a couple other dignitaries
Wow.
as they're driving from the UN back, and they may have been abducted.
Wow. See, there's just so much.
Yeah,
There's so
there's so
much.
much to
I mean, you got
digest, and then you
Travis
got to
Walton.
process.
You got Travis Walton. I'd love to talk to him. I like his
I
in
did.
depth. Did you? I love his
Yes,
in depth. Don't you love how when people ask him, he said, "Did you bring anything back with you?" And he won't talk about it. And I'm like, "What did they give you? What kind of abilities do you have now?" Do you know what I'm saying?
yeah.
I
You know what?
totally believe him. I mean, I know the movie was totally, they changed a lot on that, and that upset him.
He he really got pissed off that that's why he came out with his movie.
Good.
I met him at Pine Bush
Hmm.
2 years
I
ago.
really dig the guy.
Took a picture with him, and I just went up to him and I said, "I know you're going to be meeting a lot of people. I just want to thank you for your bravery and
Yes.
your courage and all you went through."
Yeah.
I remember reading about this, and I was a lot younger than you. He is such a warm, genuine,
Yes, he
wonderful
is.
person,
I think so too.
and He's going to be at Pine Bush this year, but please change the date, Pine Bush,
Hmm.
because Pine Bush usually falls on the Para Unity Day in Jersey,
Yeah. I have to
and I
come to
don't.
that next one. I was at the one two ago. I missed you
Oh,
because I
well,
was at the one. Yeah.
I was at this one this year because a
Hmm.
tornado hit up at where Pine Bush was, so there was power down, so they changed it for a couple of weeks.
Hmm.
But this year at Para Unity, I'm going to be one of the speakers there. I'm going to have
Oh,
a room, and we're going to be dealing with UFOs and aliens and
yeah.
whatever. So I just got invited to that, and
Cool.
John,
Yeah.
he puts on a great perform.
Oh, it was great. I went to the first one. I couldn't believe how smooth it went. It was really,
Well,
really good.
and
Yeah.
what's great about it, it raises money for charity.
Yeah.
So this
Yeah.
is all about charity, but there's going to be a lot more people there, ghost
Hmm.
hunter guys and whatever.
Cool. Maybe
But
somebody there can tell me why my Bigfoot had a big lip.
well, it was really fun. I was trying to tell this to
I
Al, but
know.
he was talking
He was
last
not
night.
listening. Yeah, but see, the thing was, when I saw him, I felt him before I saw him. I know
Right.
you understand that. And it
Hmm.
was great sadness, and it was great, oh, I don't know how to put it. It was just, he was scared, you know? Now, again, I did not see his feet. That's what I meant when that quote, that
Right.
thing I sent you last night is like, I didn't see his feet, so I don't know if he was a Bigfoot. But everything I saw, because I'm driving, my son's in the passenger seat,
Right.
cornfields on both sides, dark desert highway, and we're just going down this, country road, and all of a
Right.
sudden I feel it, and I know something was going to jump out in front of me. I didn't know if it was a deer running or if it was, you never know if people are going to be running because people cornfields get
Right.
high all the time. And all of a sudden we go by, and he sees him too, and it was almost like in slow motion. I see this thing. I see him from what the door would allow me to see up,
Right.
and he
Yep.
would have been, uh, I would say a young. I felt like he was young,
He
um,
probably.
like Sasquatch. Maybe he got
Yeah.
lost. I don't know. Or he went through a portal and just wound up there. Where the hell am I? I don't know. He could
Well,
have been lost in the cornfield. We don't know.
I.
But he had
There's
that
so many
big
different
lip.
theories,
Yeah, he
but
was he was dark brown. Your typical uh,
Sasquatch.
description. Yeah, but
Yeah.
his face was a lighter color of his brown, and the lip, like almost like he was pouting. Is why I was saying that, because his lip was just poked out, really
Well.
bad. And so you could see like the inside where you could tell it was because it shined. So I could
Yep.
tell it was like the inside of his lip was wet. I know that sounds weird, but as you go by, it splashed. And everybody's like, "Well, why didn't you stop? Why didn't you?" Because there was a Bigfoot, and in between me and the Bigfoot was my son. So
Yep.
I hit the gas and took off. If I had been there by myself, I might have stopped and said, "Do you need a ride? Are you lost? Can I make you a sandwich?" I don't know, but
Yeah.
my kid's
Well,
involved. You take care of your kid.
depending depending where it is, there's a smaller Sasquatch, well, a Sasquatch type creature called the Albowitch,
Hmm.
which looks very much like that what you're describing for the
Oh,
most part.
good.
I don't know exactly where its domain is for the most
Okay.
part. But um, you hear tons of stories and there's tons of research of little kids interacting with Sasquatch.
Hmm.
They're out like with camping with the
I
family
have
and they come
zero
the
fear.
scats.
I have zero fear of a Bigfoot or the only thing it has to do with fear, and me and Sasquatch, Bigfoot, any of these animals, is that one day we'll catch them and poke them and prod them with sticks and put them in a cage.
Yep.
That's my fear. But if I saw one in my backyard, I guarantee you I would make it. And I know Al doesn't approve of this, but I would
Right.
absolutely make him a sandwich, and I would leave it out there, and I'd say, "You're safe
No,
here."
it's the gifting thing because I mean you got to understand something how large this creature is, and
Hmm.
it's not like like feeding a wild cat or
Oh,
a
I
dog or what.
understand. But I
I
also
mean
believe in
there's
some
some
ways they're
dangers there.
telepathic. Oh, I believe it. Like I,
100%
yeah,
believe in the telepathic aspect of the
absolutely.
Bigfoot.
Read my
I
book
also
then.
you know when we had our experience at Nuclear Lake, we couldn't physically see it because it was pitch black. We had infrared going, FLIR,
Hmm.
night vision. It was just, but you felt the pressure ramping up
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
as this thing was coming closer. And then once it realized that we weren't budging from where we were. It said, "The hell with this,"
Yeah.
take
And
take a different road.
the sound, well, again, I don't believe in. I'm probably wrong because again, I'm no expert in this. I'm just going on the
Right.
whole Native American part of it. I really believe they're interdimensional. I do. In some cases.
Initially, I did, when
I mean,
prior to that
I think they might
experience.
know a couple of portals in and out. I don't know. I really get that feeling about them, but then again, there might be different kinds. You see what I mean?
So,
Just like lumping
right.
ghosts in one situation, you can't do it.
So here's the crazy stuff about it, right? So when you're researching, my first research and my knowledge of Sasquatch initially was everything takes place in the Pacific Northwest,
Mm.
because that was on In Search
Everywhere.
of and all the other stuff. Actually, we have more Sasquatch on the East Coast than they have anyplace else.
Mm-hmm.
But besides that, I never thought, like, people. We have somebody that talk, and telepathically they were talking to me,
Mm-hmm.
and you think, okay, this one's nuts, and then they start talking about it be possibly being dimensional. Our experience that night was, I think they use infrasound to actually put the fear into you. It's
Okay.
one of their abilities. A lot of animals use it,
Mm-hmm.
and lions use it when they roar. There's infrasound there. It's
Yes.
it's pretty much to scare the crap out of you,
Yeah.
uh, freeze you, right? On top of that, this thing moved from where we were, for the most part, to about a mile away
Mm.
in under 3 seconds,
Okay.
and the pitch black on a really rocky area. There's no way it could have moved that fast. So the only way I can think of is it had an ability to open a portal and
Yes.
then out another end of the portal.
Yes. I totally believe that.
And so I'm leaning a lot more towards these things being interdimensional.
Yes, that's how I've
Um,
always felt that way, and I don't know why. It's not based on knowledge; it's based on
no,
feeling. If you understand what I'm saying, I've just
100%.
always felt that. I've always felt that,
Right.
and that's why I said if I ever look, man, I've been in the woods, and I mean a lot. I mean,
Yep.
you know what I mean? I take the kids out there camping. I went to powwow. Let me tell you, Native American stuff and stay out there, and I've done it in the army, and I'll tell you there's
Right.
been times I've been out there where everything just goes silent and you get this feeling and
Right.
you just kind of and I don't know, I really don't think that's Bigfoot related. I think it's something else related, like maybe I walked into a place I shouldn't have been, or something else
Um,
was about to happen, like
yeah.
maybe, do you see what I mean, like something else was going to happen, and when I just like and then you get this feeling with it. It was twice with it I got the feeling of I could just sit here and chill out. I could just like something was lulling me to sleep. I
Right.
can't explain that. And it was just like full tilt boogie bye, you know. I think
Oh,
it's
yeah.
everything in me. And what if I didn't? What would have happened? I don't want to know. Because I
Right.
don't know if that has anything to do with all these missing people in the woods. I don't know. I think there's a lot of different things going on. I do think that some are walking through portals. I do. I think some of them
Yeah.
are being taken because it's just in some cases it seems as if it's a portal, it's a picky portal because they're taking like the German descent, they're taking this, they're taking weird,
Right.
weird. The knowledgeable, that's also strange. I don't know. A lot of these people won't wind up in water, and all that kind of stuff. But I just believe that there's portals, and I believe you could walk in and find yourself. Look at that one guy, the farmer, and I'm gonna let you go here because I've been talking to you for
Yep.
3.5 hours, man. I'm sorry, but
Well, it's
I
getting
could
to the
go on
point. I
forever. Yeah,
Oh, I could, trust me. If I didn't have to get up tomorrow really
I know.
early
Me
to
too.
go someplace, I
I
would
know.
be there. Trust me. I
I
can go
know.
for 9 more hours
I
easily. Get a couple of six packs. We'll order
know.
pizza. It'll be fine.
Okay, I'm gonna tell you about the cow. Did you hear the one
Yep.
about the cow where the farmer could hear the cow but couldn't find the cow and it's an open field, there's no holes, there's nothing anybody could fall in, and he felt like the cow was right there. It was almost like the cow had walked through a portal and was on the other side of something. You know.
That's kind of cool and interesting. It's like it's like playing Marco Polo and with
Yes, it was.
portals.
And then, you've got Linda Godfrey with all of the Dogman, Wolfman. I still don't know the difference between the two. I know the shapeshifters, I get it. But the
It's a
one where in the middle of a field with snow, nothing but snow, and all of a sudden there's footprints and there's four of them, fresh,
yep.
and then they're gone again. What? So,
Yeah.
yes, I
Well,
believe in portals.
here's the thing. I totally believe in portals, and I believe that portals are all over the place, and they're natural portals, and they're portals that can be made
Yes.
and created and opened up and closed at will.
Yep.
I do think when we get to David Paulides and talking about missing 411, where these people go to national parks or everybody's walking in a line or going up a
Yes.
hill, and the next thing you know, Bob's missing.
Yep.
Okay. I think what happens is these things open up and go, oh, I want this one.
Yep.
Pulls them in. What happens to them there, I don't know.
Right.
But I don't necessarily think it's Bigfoot that's doing it.
Nope.
I lean more towards a more aggressive creature, and
Yes.
that would probably be on the dogman slash lichen slash werewolf side. Um, I
Or
think there's an
aliens.
interaction. Or aliens, but I think primarily it's whatever lives in that those dimensions, and I think it's more cryptid based than
Yes.
alien based.
Yes.
Just my personal take on it.
I would
I
tend to
can't
agree with
prove it.
that. Why not? Yeah.
Um, but Bigfoots in general, there's too many stories of them protecting humans
Mhm.
against the dogman.
Mhm.
I didn't want to believe the dogman stories were true at all whatsoever. I thought, oh, this is hokey pokey. But when you have people that, and you know this because you've probably worked around some of these guys, men and women that are in lettered agencies that have a lot more to lose than gain.
Mhm.
Okay. And they're coming forward and telling you stories about, I was on
Yes.
this base,
Yes.
can't go into it, X, Y, and Z,
Yes.
and this is what happened. We were running exercise and blah, blah, blah.
Mhm.
Um, when these people have a lot more to lose than gain, are not in any way, shape, or form making any kind of compensation,
Mhm.
come forward and tell you these stories, I don't think they're doing it to get kicks.
Right.
Because when you're in the three-lettered agencies, you get your own kicks other ways,
Right.
and it ain't like telling some fib. Um,
I am.
so
Yeah. I
you,
get you.
you know, it's just really weird. The dogman lichen is a scary freaking creature. I'd like to see one,
No, don't. I
but
don't
from a
need to see it.
distance. Well, I mean, like one of the things we didn't discuss it, but part of the at that cemetery visit, we did this. Al did tree knock, and the minute he did tree knocks, all the dogs stopped during the day, and
Mhm.
then he kept on getting drawn to certain areas, and there was certain signs that structures that were in place that more dogmen related than Bigfoot, but similar things, but they do certain things that are different from the Bigfoot structures. Um, and then when we got, there's an audio recording of me, and you can hear it, and they go, "Did you hear that?" And he goes, "Nope." And the next thing you hear is
Oh
really loud
no.
growl. Okay,
Oh
like
God, no.
right by us.
No.
So we're not seeing it; it's right next to us.
Yes.
We
No.
don't see it, so it's either
Oh.
invisible or it's in like that cow, right?
Yeah.
Here's the best part.
Oh God, no.
So I'm a dog. I grew up with dogs my whole life, right? So I know there's a couple of our friends are real dog trainers from movies and whatever. And if you have a really tough dog, it's like, hey, screw you, I'm not going to do anything.
Mhm.
It's really funny when these dog trainers come in, they must have an alpha scent or whatever that says, you mess with me, you're going to get hurt.
Right.
And for some reason, these things go into line.
Right.
Now, when you have a dog, what a dog will do is this: when you're walking in and you have an alpha dog that's there, or the one that thinks is they're an alpha, they'll urinate in a certain spot.
Mhm.
That's marking their territory. Like, I'm here.
Mhm.
Big Bry's here. He
Mhm.
just urinated here,
Okay.
and that's to tell other dogs, don't. If another dog tries to go on top of him, there could be a big fight there, and then there'll be a standoff and see who the
Tomcats do
big
the
dog
same
is.
thing. Yeah.
Exactly. It's a typical thing in the alien. I mean, in the animal world.
Right.
So after this, we're going back. We hear this, a nice, like a big bark, and it was really weird. I heard it more as a dog, but when you listen to it on the tape, like, wow, that's really aggressive. That's not a dog I've ever heard. We're walking back to the car, and when we get back to the car, we're parked on the side of the road about a quarter of a mile, a little bit more past where the cemetery is, and it's like a little nature preserve. It's cut out. And we get there, and I'm going to the passenger side because we're in Al's car. We're getting ready. I have to go. I gotta pee. I gotta be honest.
Mhm.
It's freezing cold out. I've been out in the woods way too long, and I gotta go. So Al's putting his stuff away, but we noticed this. We saw the eye shine, and this thing was sitting on its back legs. And to be brutally honest, it was about, I'm gonna say, 40 to 50 yards away from us.
Mm.
Not that far. And it was just sitting there. And it definitely had like an ear structure, and it was large. I've seen some of these bull mastiffs and some of the larger dogs of the planet. When they sit down, this thing was taller than that at a height,
Wow.
and it just stood there. So me being the jackass that I am, I'm like, I gotta pee.
Right.
So I'm literally, just think about this concept.
Right.
What I just did in front of this thing, and it very much eventually it disappears and it goes away, and that's when Al's like, "Get the hell in the car," because it just started getting very uneasy at that point. Wasn't aggressive; it was just sitting there watching us. But I'm urinating in front of this thing, and basically that's telling him,
Uh-huh.
I'm bigger and better than your ass will be. Don't mess with me. And I
Correct.
think in many ways that whatever that thing was like, wow, this guy has a lot of chutzpah or balls
Yeah, right.
because I wouldn't have done that. But I think there was a little bit of a respect factor there.
Yeah.
But then once it went down and disappeared, it kind of went down on its belly and it started disappearing. We didn't know where it was. That's when the fear set in a
Right.
little bit, and we're like, okay, where the hell is this thing? So, of course, I got in the car and I kept my machete right on my lap, and I was ready to rock and roll at that
Oh.
point.
Yeah.
But I don't recommend anybody doing that in front of
No.
an animal. But this was definitely a canine-ish type of animal.
Hmm.
It was in the shadow, but you could see the eye shine. Um, Really weird. It was an interesting night. Again, I that was the perfect amount of distance for me. I guess if I saw it, I saw it, and I'll move on with it. Something else.
Wow. That's just something. Yeah, I don't recommend bringing out your cash and prizes in front of something that might have long
No,
talons.
that was like the tiredness of being on a long
Yes.
investigation in the
You're just
cold.
tired. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it was stupid. It was really like, can I hold it into the diner? No, I'm gonna pee someplace, so I might as well just do it in front of this thing. Yeah,
Wow.
I'm better than you.
Yeah, yeah, that is. It's funny because you always have to think about what. That's what I was talking about with the Sasquatch too. Because I'm
Yep.
just like, now come on, if I saw something that jumps up on the guy, I'm gonna scream like a banshee and run through this house, and
Oh
everything becomes a
God.
weapon. Everything becomes a weapon. There's no doubt.
Exactly.
But it just depends too on how it happens. Because you see something
Yep.
coming up on you, and it looks at you. It's already clocking you. It's clocking you. It knows that you were there before you saw it, and it's
Oh,
already
100%.
reading your intent. And you see people all the time walking up to animals that know this one understands me. And then again, I've had animals where I'm like, okay, I'm not going to do it because he's so erratic, doesn't trust
Yep.
anybody. He's not even going on his instincts anymore. He's just fear,
I'll tell
and
you one thing. Yeah,
yeah.
one thing about this dog man though. If you have one at your 12 o'clock,
Uh-huh.
you bet your ass
He's
there's
got
either
one at
one
your
at
6.
9 o'clock, 3 o'clock, or 6 o'clock,
Yep. Yep.
or getting there.
Yep.
They never ever come
Yes,
out
that is so
solo.
true. So true. And that you're absolutely true because that's basically how wolves fight too. I mean, you got to
It's
think it's
pretty
instinct.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, well, I had an incident down in Maryland where I was staying at a hotel and I heard something coming forward, like by 12 o'clock, and then while I was kind of like being a little distracted, I was really paying it. I'm a New York City kind of guy because that's where I'm born and raised, and so I'm aware of a lot more stuff that's going on around me, and I'm paying attention to everything.
Hmm.
And I heard something creeping up to the right, and I'm like, time to go
Time
out.
to go.
I'm out.
Yeah.
Yep.
Absolutely.
You
Absolutely.
just
That's
yep.
good. That's good advice for anything like that. You see, because I mean that's just people whatever.
Dating, marriage,
Yes, all of that. Any kind. Any goes pickpockets, any of that stuff.
pickets.
But yeah, that's just the way it is. And I mean, if you're going to go out into an animals, you're in their territory. It's like I say with some of these people, reality shows. We won't even get on that. That's another show. We're going to have you back. But they
Sure.
go out there, and I tell them, I'm yelling at the TV like, "Will you please listen to me? Just turn it off," because they're going in there and they're provoking and they're doing all this stuff. And again, like we talked with the Ouija board and everything else, and I'm like, "Listen, it's great to stand on the shore and make fun of the sharks." Until
Yeah.
one time you find out that you're in their water and now you're in their territory and they waited a long time for this.
Yep.
So you might be okay today, but later on, you just don't go around poking the bear like that. So or peeing
No.
on the door or peeing on the dog man. So
Exactly. Well, yeah, you
listen,
don't
my
do that.
friend, I am going to let you go. Please tell us where we can find you.
Um,
And
you can find me in prison. No, you can find I have you'll find our podcast on inside the goblin universe dot podbean.com. We're on every social media site you can think of, including Pinterest. I'm on Facebook, and that's pretty much where I am. I mean, hopefully you'll see me at a couple more events, and we have a little web thing on our inside the goblin universe.com site where if you have questions or you want a specific guest or you want to comment or you want to yell and scream or call me an idiot or run or whatever, just post it there. And also there's Bronxville Paranormal Society.com, and you can see some of our evidence. I mean, we always just let it hang out there. We give you the raw footage and then we review ourselves, and then because we want other people to get involved in this.
right, right.
Um, and then a lot of times we have to go back to the evidence every couple of months because you never fresh eyes are better than staring at the same thing over and over again.
Right.
So but that's where you can reach me, and you can reach me on your show. And
Yes, and I highly recommend for those because this will be out probably before Halloween. The Poe
yep.
episode. I really dug the Poe episode. I thought
Oh,
it was cool that you guys did that.
well, I love Edgar Allan Poe.
Mhm.
His house is near, kind of close where I am, and it's in a bad neighborhood.
Mhm.
It's in a certain area there. I just think he's just fantastic.
Yeah.
I mean,
It's a shame.
he's
It's a shame how that went down. It's like the how was it called cooping? That they
yeah,
thought
it's
that maybe it was something like that, or God knows what else. It was just found the way he was found. But you know, uh, man, he put out some stuff, and the
oh
Raven. I mean, how Halloweenish is the Raven? Nevermore, nevermore.
well,
It's
there's a
wonderful.
good. Yeah, Christopher Walken does a great.
Yes, he
He
does.
does the reading of that. I always wanted Buddy Hackett to do that, which I thought it would be funny. Like once
Yeah.
upon a midnight's dreary. You know what a penis is, lady? One of those things that I think that would have been
Yeah,
great.
that's
Um,
fun.
but
Yeah,
my
but that was
favorite
really
is
good.
oh yeah, my favorite from Edgar Allan Poe is Cast of Amontillado,
Yes. Oh
and it's when
gosh.
he's breaking in
Yes.
the guy to the wall,
Yes.
and because who hasn't wanted to get revenge.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that's where I am, and I can't thank you enough for having me on
Oh, thank you for
your
being
wonderful
here.
show.
Thank you for being here.
And
Thanks for supporting the show. And I can promise you this, my book will be out this weekend. It is not an audio, but what I will do for you, my friend, is if you want to call me and in segments, I'll read it to you.
yeah, no, it's fine. But I'll tell you what, I can tell you, I'll get you on, and I'll show you how to convert it to audio. So
That's
maybe you
fine.
could sell that on the side.
Sure. That'd be
Hmm?
awesome.
See?
That'd be awesome. And I thank you so much for spending this time with us tonight. And for we went kind of all around the gauntlet, and I think we could have done another
Yep.
30 subjects. So come back on, okay?
Yep, I definitely will, and I definitely want to have you on our broadcast too. So
I'm
whenever you
there.
get a chance,
I'm there, man.
cool. Sounds like a
Absolutely.
plan.
All right, man. Good night and thank you.
You got it. Bye.